teeth, so I'll be able to play. So I'll be able to play better with my teeth on.
You're going live now.
Teeth. So I'll be able to play.
You are live.
I'm alive. I was alive
Yes,
before.
And here, and okay, and here's the song. One this one will increase everyone's appetite.
I don't know this song. I don't know how to sing it.
I learned it from you.
Well, I don't know how to sing it anymore. I forgot.
Okay,
I'll just talk it like Rex Harrison. Akadina Shantipure Prabhu Avat Advaitera Ghare Dui Prabhu Bhojana Boshila Shak Kori Ashwadhana Prabhu Bole Bhaktagana Shak Krishna Ashwadila. That means he ate green sharks. I have to tell a story. It was the day after, it was, what is it? Jagannath Misra Utsav, the day after Mahaprabhu's appearance day, for that's when the feasting really is. A lot of temples have a feast at midnight, at moonrise, and they serve grains. No, we serve Ekadasi dishes, and then the feast, Jagannath Misra's Utsav, Mahotsav, is the next day. But I had gone to the next door Gaudiya Mutt from Mayapur, our temple, to learn the Gaur Ganadesha Deepika with a brahmachari there. And so I wrote down about 42 names, and that's the who's who from Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Krishna Lila. And then I said, I have to get back because it's the Otsav is there. And they said, eat here. And some old Didimas had made, first thing you eat, you eat from bitter to savory to sweet. So the first thing you eat is shak, spinach, greens. They made these, I mean, it was divine. Now this is spinach, which, you know, like what Popeye has to eat, because that was to get kids to eat their spinach. This spinach was divine. I can't say any more about it, what happened. It was just incredible. So put this on. Some old Vaishnavi ladies.
Okay.
I missed the whole thing. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
right. Well,
you froze and that was it.
all right.
They took us to that day of the Utsava or Mahotsava. Always
So
get it.
I went next door to learn. I asked a brahmachari at the next mutt to read to me, and I took 2 pages of lines of about 42 of the Gaura Ganadesha Deepika, the who's who in Gaur Lila. And then I said, I have to get back to the mutt, but they said, no, break fast here, Paran, here. And the first thing that came out was this song is about Lord Chaitanya eating greens, sag. And these Vaishnavi ladies had put it down on my leaf plate, and it was just so divine. And who would think that spinach would be so delicious?
No.
When Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, he said, give all the fine dishes to everybody else. I want to have this Shak Benjan, Lafra Benjan. When I also, Narayan Maharaj asked me, he said, do you know Lafra Benjan? I said, no. He says, you're not Vaishnava.
Yeah. It's so delicious. Oh my God.
Lafra has everything in it. It's a sabji. It's like khichdi, but not grains. It's a sabji khichdi. And so there's.
But it has leafy greens, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. When we got invited to
Benjan also means consonants. Shor means vowels and Benjan means consonants. So maybe it means something congruous.
Or maybe it's the alphabet soup.
Yeah,
You know?
that's it. That's it. Jiva Goswami Vyakaran says that the vowels are Krishna because they can stand independently, and consonants are all the consonants are Radhika because they depend on vowels.
Yeah, I love that. You told us that last time. And
Oh well, I'm saying it again.
please do.
but-
Those things are always wonderful to hear them over and over again.
Well, I say them to different people, so I never know. I'm probably pretty boring.
No, it's not. And you know
There's-
what? One thing Maharaj taught us, he was saying that if you want to learn something real well, tell it to someone, whoever you meet, 3 times.
Okay. So consonants, no, I won't. Hanos Hagar Swadane Krishna Prema Airsemane. Say Preme Koro Arswadan. Jarabuddhi Hari Hari Prasada Bhojana Kori. Hari Hari Bolo Sarvajan. Oh, brothers, one day it's Sri Advaita's house in Santipur. The 2 lords, Chaitanya and Nityananda, let me get this away, was seated for lunch. Lord Chaitanya tasted the green leafy vegetable preparation and addressed the assembly of his devotees. This shak is so delicious. Lord Krishna has definitely tasted it. I'll do the,
Go ahead.
it's only 2 lines. At the taste of shak like this, love of Krishna arises in the heart. In such love, you should taste these remnants. Giving up all materialistic conceptions and taking Lord's prasad, all of you chant Hari Hari.
So I looked up in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, I looked up this pastime. Do you want to hear it?
Wow.
Sounds like you might like to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
Yes, please.
Anchalila 4, 234 to 299. I've never read this before, so my first time.
And how did you find it?
My former wife went to Vrindavan and I asked her if she could bring these back for me. Pundarik Vidyanidhi Prabhu translated.
No, but how did you find
There's
the
another
song?
one.
Oh, because it's a reference in the song. At the end, it says this is elaborated upon
Oh,
Panchalila chapter 4. So
oh,
yeah, so Sri Gaura Sundar has arrived in Shantipur. Come quickly and see him. I'm just wondering who that is speaking, if that's Mother Sachi or who that is actually addressing like that. Huh. Doesn't say who the speaker is. Okay. Hearing this news that Gaura Sundar had arrived in Shantipur, Mother Sachi became pleased beyond description. When this news spread among the devotees, their minds became filled with transcendental bliss. Gangadas Pandit, the dear associate of the Lord, immediately departed with Mother Sachi. Sri Murari Gupta and the other devotees all accompanied Mother Sachi. Mother Sachi quickly came to Shantipur and Sri Gaura Sundar was informed. As soon as Sri Gaura Sundar saw his mother, he immediately offered her obeisances from a distance. He repeatedly circumambulated her and recited verses as he offered obeisances. You are the mother of the universe and the personification of devotional service. You are the form of pure goodness beyond the modes of material nature. If you glance mercifully on the living entities, their minds will develop attachment for Krishna. You are the personification of devotional service to Vishnu. You are the potency from which everything emanates. You are Ganga, you are Devaki, you are Yashoda, and you are Devahuti, you are Prishni, Anasuya, Kaushalya, and you are Aditi. Everything that we see has emanated from you. Wow, I've never heard anyone glorify their mom better than this.
Yeah.
You are the maintainer, and everything ultimately emerges from you. Who has the power to describe your glories? You reside in the heart of everyone. The Lord who establishes religious principles offered obeisances and recited verses in this way. Who other than Krishna has the potency to display such devotion to a father, mother, or superior? As the Lord repeatedly recited verses and offered obeisances, tears of love bathed his entire body. As soon as Mother Sachi saw the face of Lord Gauranga, she became stunned with transcendental ecstasy. Mother Sachi stood there like a wooden doll as the Lord of Vaikuntha respectfully offered her prayers. The Lord said, whatever devotion to Krishna I have is simply by your mercy. So much gratitude. If the servant of the servant of the servant a million times removed if the servant of the servant of the servant a million times removed is related to you, he is more dear to me than my own life. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says that considering the relationship of the Supreme Lord's innumerable servants and maidservants with his mother, Sri Gaura Sundar said, because of that relationship, they are extremely dear to me. If a person remembers you even once, he will never be entangled in material bondage. Ganga and Tulsi are known to purify everything, but even they are purified by your touch. I have no ability to pay you for the affection you displayed while maintaining me. Therefore, let your own good qualities be your compensation for the affection you displayed for me at every hour.
Okay, now that's what Krishna says to the gopis at Kurukshetra,
Uh-huh.
which means that he's coming back to fulfill that. That means
Oh,
he cannot, that's what he says when he cannot reciprocate. It's when there's a stone so heavy that he can't pick it up. And he has to come in again to do something to reciprocate. And my big question is, so if Lord Chaitanya came to sound the depths of Radharani's madhurya and sweetness, and now he has, as Lord Chaitanya, it's now the ball is in Radharani's court. Now what are they up to now?
To be continued.
Yeah.
Narayana Maharaj said, look at me one time, he said, Sam said, what comes first? Gauranga or Radha Krishna?
Oh, that's a funny story. So what did he say?
That's a mystery.
Okay, because the verse is, what is that verse? Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti. There's one absolute truth, but they have divided into Radha Krishna. Once again, they have come as one, as Lord
Together.
Chaitanya. But one
Yes.
time there was an older gentleman, Vaishnava, and I was saying Mahaprabhu is more than Krishna, and he was saying Krishna is more than Radha. So we both came to Prabhupada and said, we're having a Vaishnava argument. Who is more, Krishna or Radha? No, I blew it. Krishna or Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada said, Radha.
Yes, he was a Radha Bhakta. That was his Swamini, is his Swamini. But, like we see the pastimes in a very linear way and don't realize that you were mentioning Gauragana Vishtipika and who is who. And those pastimes, they connect to each other. So Sridhar Maharaj, the young Sridhar Maharaj, Bhai Puri Maharaj's disciple, was saying that Lord Shiva entered the rasa dance, but the gopis were very suspicious. Actually, they were slapping his face, asking him, who are your parents? Where are you coming from? Where is your village? Who's your husband? Those things, Krishna said, no, take it easy. He's okay, she's okay. So commence to dance. But at one point, Krishna says, your dance is good, but it needs a little something, a little more. And so fast forward, or going into the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaita Acharya is Lord Shiva, isn't he? It's the
Yeah.
combination of Mahavishnu. So in that one now, he learned how to dance. He completed his task. So now in the next round, he will be able to enter, this Rasa Leela in a very expert way.
And you know when that's going to happen? You know when?
And the next day of Lord Brahma.
No, right now.
Oh, it's true. It's never
Yeah.
ending.
Right
That's
now.
right.
It's in the next
It's-
Brahman. We'll see it
Yes.
here. But we'll
What-
have to skip through it. That's the verse of Durga Devi. Deva Devotami Devata Sarvabhumi Ananta Koti Akila Brahmanda Naiki. She is the goddess of unlimited millions of Brahmandas. So if we want to, we don't have to wait for a day, Brahma. It's right in the next.
And I was reading the. Let me see. Here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, of course, he praises Vrindavan Das Thakur as the incarnation of Vyasadeva.
Oh.
And he says he promised that in the future, that will be dedicated by Vyasadeva. The whole chapter or more probably will be a Gita, Mahaprabhu Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole complete story. So I bet you anything, Prabhupada is going to be there, you're going to be there, all the associates, it'll be like, I can hardly wait. Although that will be, who knows, I mean, in material time. But isn't it wonderful?
Be, right away.
It could be right away. So
we are in the Purva Raga. Purva Raga is described of the gopis before they see Krishna. And Mukunda Prabhu also said, we in the sadhana stage, we are also in the Purva Raga. We only hear about Krishna's Nam Rup Guna Lila. So
right.
we're on the waiting list.
Yeah. And another name for Sachi Mata, because right there, like Gora was saying, "Oh wow, what a glorification!" But I said, "Well, they go a long way. They know each other for so long, so many lifetimes of her taking." So another name for her compassionate nature is Ai. Another name for Mother Sachi.
Yeah, that's the name of Durga also. Ai Giri Nandini Ramya Kaparadini. Prabhupada once sang that to me. Prabhupada once was singing that to me. It was Kali Puja in Calcutta. And Prabhupada loved rhythm. And we know Shabda Brahma is also called Nada Brahma, sound. There's also Tal Brahma, rhythm.
Tal.
Because he played Mridanga. So the Tal, the rhythm is always called Tal Brahma.
So I hope I didn't offend you, but my favorite musician and singer is Prabhupada. More and more that I heard him. And they asked George Harrison one time, "Who's your favorite musician?" And he said, "Prabhupada." So you came in. So I'm on the Western devotees. When I heard your tape, I said, "Oh, this is it." You became my favorite. That tape, I played it forever. We're like, and that's what like Raghu was saying. All the kids in Gurukula, they want to be. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be Acyutananda Maharaj.
As the Lord offered prayers with great satisfaction in this way, all the Vaishnavas floated in ecstasy. Mother Sachi knew that her son was Lord Narayan, who had appeared on earth, and that he would speak whatever he desired. After a few moments, Mother Sachi simply said, "Who is capable of understanding your words? The conditioned souls are like dead bodies helplessly tossed about in the waves of the ocean. All living entities in the ocean of material existence are forced in this way to act under the dictation of your illusory energy. My dear son, I can only say that you alone know what is good for everyone. I understand that you do as you like, whether you circumambulate, offer prayers, or offer obeisances. After hearing Mother Sachi's words, all the Lord's devotees began to chant, Jai, Jai. Gaurachandra appeared from the womb of Mother Sachi. Therefore, who can describe the extent of her devotional service? Even if one utters the word Ai as a mundane word, by the influence of the word Ai, one will be freed from all suffering. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, if the respectable Sachi Devi, the mother of Gora, is addressed in the uncultured language as Ai, all one's miseries will be destroyed.
Aye.
Mother Sachi became fully satisfied on seeing the Lord, and the devotees lost external consciousness and ecstasy. Human beings have no power to describe the happiness that was experienced there. When the greatly intoxicated Nityananda saw how happy Mother Sachi was, he joyfully floated in an ocean of transcendental ecstasy. Acharya Goswami recited prayers glorifying Devaki while offering unlimited obeisances to Mother Sachi. Devotees headed by Haridas, Murari, Shri Garbha, Narayan, Jagadish, and Gopinath became so happy on seeing Mother Sachi's satisfaction that they appeared to merge in transcendental ecstasy. Anyone who reads or hears these ecstatic pastimes will certainly attain the wealth of ecstatic love for Krishna. Advaita then took permission from the Lord for the fortunate Mother Sachi to cook for him. As Mother Sachi went to cook in great satisfaction with love, she thought, Gaurachandra is Lord Narayan himself. Mother Sachi cooked such a variety of vegetable preparations that I do not know the names of them all. Mother Sachi knew that the Lord was very fond of shak, spinach, so she cooked 20 different varieties. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
There's a red kind and a yellow kind and many kinds of light green, dark green, many kinds.
To her full satisfaction, Mother Sachi cooked each vegetable in 10 to 20 different ways. Each vegetable in 10 to 20 different. She had a lot of spinach in her garden. Wow. After cooking numerous preparations, she took them to the dining room. She put the rice and the vegetables on the plates and then placed tulsi manjaris on top. She placed rice and vegetable preparations in rows on all sides, and then she placed a fine seat in the middle. Mahaprabhu then came with his associates to eat. When the Lord saw the arrangement of rice and vegetable preparations, he offered his full obeisances. Wow. The Lord said, what to speak of eating this rice? One is freed from material bondage just by seeing it. And the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, Sri Sachi Devi cooked 20 varieties of shak and 10 to 20 different preparations from each vegetable. And after placing tulsi manjaris on top, she offered everything to Vishnu. When Gaurachandra saw, when Gaura Sundar saw this offering, he offered obeisances and said, what to speak of eating these food preparations? Anyone who sees them will be freed from the bondage resulting from enjoying this material world. Anyone who smells the divine fragrance of this rice will become inclined to the service of Krishna. Wow. I am unable to. Sorry.
I just said Jai Ho. It's an expression. You know.
Yeah. I'm almost done. Describing this section as recommended in the songbook. I am unable to describe such cooking even by smelling this rice. One develops devotion to Krishna. I think Krishna and his associates have personally tasted this rice. After speaking these words, Lord Gauranga circumambulated the rice and sat down to eat. On the order of the Lord, all of his devotees sat down on all sides to watch the Lord eat. As the Lord of Vaikuntha began eating, the fortunate mother Sachi watched to the full satisfaction of her eyes. The Lord relished each vegetable preparation with great satisfaction. Yet of all the preparations, the shak preparations were most glorious, for the Lord repeatedly ate them. On seeing the Lord's fondness for shak, all of his devotees smiled. The Lord smiled and glorified the shak preparations as he ate. The Lord said, this shak is known as Achyuta. By eating this, one develops attachment for Krishna. And Bhaktisiddhanta says that Achyuta is a type of shak. As the Lord ate, he glorified the various qualities of the various shaks from their relationships to Krishna. We're almost finished. 3 more verses. By eating patala, vastuka, and kala shaks, one enjoys the Vaishnav's association birth after birth. By eating shalincha, salincha, and helencha shak, one remains free from disease and attains the devotional service of Krishna. And finally, the Lord's hair stood on end as he narrated in this way the glories of the various shaks while eating.
Siddhanta went away.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't like shak. Okay. Anyway, that's just an elaboration on that song that you just sang. I've never
thank you so much.
Yeah, it was wonderful to hear it.
Now, whose
That was
version,
very-
whose edition of the Chaitanya Bhagavat is that?
That's Pundarik Vijayanidhi.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did about the first 6 chapters
Oh, nice.
and also on recording. And then Bhaktisiddhanta's purpose got so. I even asked other Prabhupada God brothers to explain. They said, you have to crack your head to understand Bhaktisiddhanta.
Yeah.
So I gave up.
There's a
What-
Bhumipati was the other person.
Oh.
Pundarik Vijayanidhi and Bhumipati, they worked on it together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I picked up a little bit. Acyutananda Prabhu, was you who said that Bhaktisiddhanta wrote that way because he didn't want his disciples weren't that advanced and he didn't want them to understand, actually. So purposefully, he wrote in a very
And also to command respect. Nobody could read that and think that this is just a sentimental idea. Also, it makes you, that's why Prabhupada's books should not be edited. If you
absolutely right.
It makes you, Prabhupada would always say something that no other philosopher, try to understand, try to understand, try. That trying to understand. So he'll say something in some way that's not grammatically proper Oxford English. He'll say it.
Yeah.
So then, hey, what is it? But Bhaktisiddhanta also in his temples, the doorway to the deity is very narrow.
Very narrow.
You can't see. So you have to do this. You have to do. It makes a baba. Want to.
Yeah, translated by Bhumipati Das and edited and published by Pundarik Vijayanidhi Das.
Oh, I
And-
like to.
Sorry.
Do you know if they have that in audio?
No, I don't know that. But a few years back, about 6-7 years back, I was contemplating that there were 50 lectures of Prabhupada in Hindi and about 30 lectures in Bengali. And I was wondering, why is it that over 40 years have gone by and none of these lectures have been translated in English? Because once they're translated into English, then they can be translated in all the languages of the world. Plus, you can make books out of them as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I started putting out advertisements on Facebook. I'm looking for 20 translators. And Ekanath said, Gora, you're wasting your time. People will come forward, but then they'll say, yeah, but I just had a baby, or I lost my job, or I'm moving, or, you know, and he said, everyone's going to flake out on you. He said, I've tried to do this before. And he was right. Actually, everyone over the months people flake. But one devotee named Sham Vallabha, I didn't meet him. Sham Vallabha actually finished all the translations. I would have thought Bhakti True Swami would have done these, or Jayapataka Swami, since they're fluent in Bengali.
One
But-
time Prabhupada finished a lecture, and then he said, and there'll be one world mantra. And everyone shouted, Hare Krishna. And one world book. I said, Bhagavad Gita. And one world language. There was silence. Someone said, Sanskrit? I said, no, English.
Yeah. So anyway, those are now being proofread. I think I haven't gotten an update from Ekanath, but I just saw, wow, I mean, that's like close to 80 lectures by Prabhupada we've never heard before, because they're in Hindi and Bengali, but they should be known. I'm sure Prabhupada may have said some things in Hindi and Bengali that maybe we may not have heard.
Maybe he said things he didn't want us to know.
Yeah. Well, it's like those grantas. There's a Granta Samadhi right next to the Sanatan Goswami's Madan Mohan compound, and I asked one of the sannyasis in Gaudiya, says, "No, those are grantas that we're really, humanity right now is not ready. There is no one really could understand them."
I reread Guru and His Grace.
No.
I read it a long time, so I read it again yesterday. You can read it in a day.
Yeah.
And wow, that's the guidebook for anyone who thinks they want to be guru or should not be guru or should be guru. This is the textbook that everyone has to read. And then at the end is the Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari connection.
Yes.
Just 2-3 pages at the end goes through the entire point.
I heard that.
And Prabhupada only gave a hint of that. In Nectar of Devotion, I was looking, I couldn't find the chapter or where it is, but all Prabhupada says is that there is a certain class of gopis called manjaris. They serve this, that's all he says.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to mention the name of the godbrother, but he wrote a book not too long ago, and we had a discussion over the internet.
You mean Tripurari Swami, not to mention names?
No.
Okay.
What? Yeah.
No, Tripurari is coming out to Prabhupada is Sakharas.
Yes, yeah, I know. But and this one was saying, no, Narayan Maharaj is, I'm not insulting him. That's what he's saying. He said, but he kind of cheated his devotees with, mantaris. They don't do anything. Hello. I said, my God. And so we have, when we Sridhar Maharaj tour here, he came, and he's really good. He's like, he leaves you a cliffhanger. So the lecture ended with this, do you know what a kinkari is? Everybody went like, mantari. What? I said, tomorrow I'll tell you. You find out, you tell me.
Look it up.
Look it up, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, I say that to someone. That means he's not. I also said at my Guru Purnima speech at the end, I said, I would like someone to collect all the places where it says, do not teach this to the unfaithful. Do not teach this. Do not give 9th Namaparat. Do not give Namaparat for someone who is not faithful or not disciplined. That's in the 18th chapter also, at the end of Bhagavad Gita. Do not teach this. In the 9th chapter also, Rajavidya Rajagoga. Do not teach this to
the unfaithful
people. And many places. I got a copy online of the Sanat Kumar Sanghita, and there's every other chapter says do not teach it. There's a lot of Radha Krishna in that, which he can say. But Kumar can say, like they have the Nimbarka Sampradaya worships Radha Krishna, but anyway, the name of Radha cannot be in the Bhagavatam even, but it is in other Puranas and in this Sanat Kumar Sanghita.
Yes.
Like a guru, nobody else is joining. What? Maybe they may have given up because they couldn't get in at 7:30. So they gave up. I did. Everybody's frozen.
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard this story about Sri Guru and His Grace that Dhira Krishna, now Bhakti Sudhir Swami, he actually helped. He compiled that, and he presented it to Tripurari Swami initially, and Tripurari Swami rejected it because he wasn't into Srila Sridhar Maharaj at the time. But then when he did start reading it, his mind completely was blown, and yeah, he became extremely interested in Srila Sridhar Maharaj because of that book.
Still, he maintains Sakha Rasa because Sridhar Maharaj may have told him that. Prabhupada told to Govinda Dasi that he's cowherd boy. Okay, and she maintains that. This is something that we can't debate on, though, like an argument or a debate. It is too rasika. Well, in the beginning, we asked Prabhupada, well, after a few months, he established that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, above all the avatars, he's avatari. And we said, well, then why are there still Ram Bhaktas in India? And he said, yes, they argue Ram, and we say Krishna, and they go Ram, and we say Krishna, Ram, Ram, Krishna, Krishna, Ram is going on.
And everybody's chanting the holy name. So Kinkari means, what else can I do?
What's next?
What's next? What's next? So they're the busiest. They're the busiest, and you know why? Roy Ramananda, he fainted. Where Lord Chaitanya showed him how he becomes Chaitanya.
Yeah.
And Siddhanti Maharaj explained that he was here just maybe a month ago. He was explaining that it's because he is Vishaka, he's a Saki, and in a linear way we say, well, they're higher, they're higher than these little manjaris. But no, the little manjaris are allowed to come into situations where the Sakis are not.
Because they're more grown up. I looked up today in the Gaura Govinda Archana Padati Dhyanacharya, and I looked up Manjaris and Rupa Manjari. Rupa Manjari and the other Manjaris are about 13 years old. She's one day younger than Lolita.
Yeah.
But they're still very adolescent. There's much more to that. I'll tell
They're
you.
in the very romantic age.
Yeah,
and Vilapa Kusumanjali, Vilapa Kusumanjali, you'll find it tells about 12 and a half years old.
Yes.
Of course, the other Sakis, yeah.
I gave a mundane, I hope that in the last Rupa conference, I was videoed here by Toshan, and his wife is Manjari, by the way. And I hope they didn't kick me out because I gave a very mundane example. I think I said it here. It's like the fans of Elvis. Elvis is, a god of love. And he has his wife and he has other girlfriends. But those young girls, the 11-year-old girls in the audience, they know they can't be Krishna, Elvis's wife, or even a mistress. But they're screaming, what if, what if? And if Elvis comes down into the audience, no, he's going to touch me, So it mentions, and Loka Guru loves to quote this, that the Radharani has 1 million times more Ananda than Krishna. And the Manjaris have 10 million more Ananda than Radha. See, Elvis is not, but the girls are screaming, and some of them fainted. No, and they're crying, and they're supposed to listen to a concert. No, they're not. They're just in love.
Yeah. So the Gurudev will say, Sri Narayana I will say, Krishna is the trunk, Radhe is the vine, the Sakis are the leaves, and then you have the flowers, they're manjaris. So when the wind comes, when there is motion, the manjaris are trembling. They feel all that. So Rupa would have marks the next day as if she had experienced their meeting. So yeah, it's a high position, very intimate. I like that Prabhupada used to call it an open secret. It's there, isn't it? I mean, you look, it's there.
It's in Nectar of Devotion, but
Yeah.
it just passes it. So because from Prabhupada, and until I heard from Narayan Maharaj only about 11 years ago, from his devotees, mainly Mukunda, I always thought that I could be, the ultimate was to become a Saki in Madhurya Rasa. And I say it, I would be the 1,1600,109th gopi in the Ras Leela. And no, we serve them. They're serving, but they get to see, and they get to be, because they are younger, Radha and Krishna won't be shy to enter into, for the manjaris to enter the kunj. If the sakis enter, then they will be a little embarrassed. Just like Balaram cannot be,
No.
and he cannot show up.
Yeah, and this devotee will say, no, there are sakas, Prabhupada probably is a saka because there are sakas who are in Madhurya Ras, only two that I know of. And yes, Subal being one of them, but yes, but they can't go all the way in to the kunja. They're not allowed. Nobody can get close.
But if you were to ask Subal and Sridham Sudam, they said, we don't want to. We wouldn't want to go in there. That's private. We play ball, but we know what's going on. We arrange. We arrange with Tanishta, and in the morning, from the very morning, they arrange for, they are the sakas also, the Priyanarma sakas. They construct all the swings, the julans, and in the Ananda Vrindavan Champu, that's, is it Kabi Karnapur? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. He says the Ras Leela takes place on a big circular wooden platform that's one hand above the ground, and then sometimes they switch it counterclockwise. So that's what this is.
Ah.
We chant up to here, then we turn around, we dance backwards.
We chant back.
And,
wow.
and sometimes some ornament will fly off, and then the manjaris are there to collect it. And right in time, the Saki will put her foot out, maybe even Radharani, and they'll put the bangle back on her foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we better not talk anymore because Tweej is here.
Okay.
Well, Vijay Prabhu.
I knew I should have come in under anonymous.
So we'll repeat everything we said.
Now
It's all being recorded.
now we can get back to reading. So, does anyone remember whether we actually? I think we did. Anyway, we'll start again. Yes, I remember this was Apani Padma. We didn't quote it. Let's start again.
Yeah.
Chapter 25.
Kriya Shakti. Remember, Kriya Shakti read the first. Yeah.
Yeah, but she didn't read the second paragraph. The Puranas are called supplementary Vedic literatures because sometimes in the original Vedas, the subject matter is too difficult for the common man to understand. The Puranas the Puranas explain matters simply by the use of stories and historical incidents. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-32, it is stated that Maharaj Nanda and the coward men and inhabitants of Vrindavan are very fortunate because the Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, full of bliss, engages in his eternal pastimes as their friend. Acyutananda Prabhu, do you want to read the next paragraph? And then it's Nrahari, and then Vijay Gauranga Prabhu.
Where?
According
According,
to Sweet
According-
Ashvatara.
according to Swadashvatara Upanishad, the Apanipado Javano Grahita mantra confirms that although Brahman has no material hands and legs, he nonetheless walks in a very stately way and accepts everything that is offered to him. This suggests that he has transcendental limbs and is therefore not impersonal. One who does not understand the Vedic principles simply stresses the impersonal material features of the Supreme Absolute Truth and thus incorrectly calls the Absolute Truth impersonal. The impersonalist Mayavadi philosophers want to establish the Absolute Truth as impersonal, but this is in contradiction to the Vedic literature. Although Vedic literatures confirm the fact that the Supreme Absolute Truth has multiple energies, the Mayavadi impersonalists still try to establish that the Absolute Truth has no energy. The fact remains, however, that the Absolute Truth is full of energy and is a person as well. It is not possible to establish him as impersonal. I was thinking today that why Shankaracharya so elaborately tried to push this. I think that it must have been Buddhism must have been very, very strong in India, and the Vedas would have been lost. So Buddhism must have been very, very strong.
Vijay, you're next in the
Have a
row.
close up there.
It wasn't Nidhi Hari.
Your picture's changed on the screen. Doesn't matter. Someone read it, please.
According to the Vishnu Purana.
Nidhi Hari, Prabhu.
So we're going to, okay. According to the Vishnu Purana 6.7.31.3, the living entities are considered kshetragya, energy. Although the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and is fully cognizant, he nonetheless becomes entrapped by material contamination and suffers all the miseries of material life. Such living entities live in different ways in accordance to the degree of their entanglement in material nature. The original energy of the Supreme Lord is spiritual and non-different from the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead. The living entity is called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord, and the material energy is called the inferior energy. Due to his material inhability, the living entity is in the marginal position, becomes entangled with the inferior energy matter. As such, at such a time, he forgets his spiritual significance, identifies himself with material energy, and thereby becomes subject to the threefold miseries. Only when he is free from such material contamination can he be situated in his proper position.
Vijay Gauranga Prabhu.
According to Vedic instructions, one should understand the constitutional position of the living entity, the position of the Lord, and the position of material energy in their interrelation. First of all, one should try to understand the constitutional position of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. That Supreme Lord has an eternal, cognizant, blissful body, and his spiritual energy is distributed as eternity, knowledge, and bliss. In his blissful identity can be found his pleasure potency, and in his eternal identity, he can be seen as the cause of everything. In his cognizant identity, he is the supreme knowledge. Indeed, the word Krishna indicates that the supreme knowledge, the word Krishna indicates that supreme knowledge. In other words, the Supreme Personality, Krishna, is the reservoir of all knowledge, pleasure, and eternity. The supreme knowledge of Krishna is exhibited in three different energies: internal, marginal, and external. By virtue of his internal energy, he exists in himself with his spiritual paraphernalia. By means of his marginal energy, he exhibits himself as the living entity. And by means of his external energy, he exhibits himself as material energy. Behind each and every energetic exhibition, there is the background of eternity, pleasure, potency, and full cognizance.
Does Jaganananda, or I think Jaganananda is Galaxy A21S, I'm guessing. Either him or Bhavatrini, if either of them want to read, or do you want me to go back to me?
Sorry. Today, Bhavatrini.
How's your tooth? How's your tooth?
I don't think it's my tooth. I think it's a pinched nerve because of the cow crushing and rolling me last week.
Take them all out like me. No,
Yeah.
I was getting them anyway. Mundaka Upanishad.
Okay.
No, the conditioned soul is the marginal potency overpowered by the external potency. However, when the marginal potency comes under the jurisdiction of the spiritual potency, it becomes eligible for love of Godhead. The Supreme Lord enjoys 6 kinds of opulences, and no one can establish that he is formless or that he is without energy. If someone claims so, his contention is completely opposed to the Vedic instructions. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of all energies. It is only the living entity who is an infinitesimal part and parcel of him who is overpowered by the material energy of Acyutananda Prabhu.
In the Mundaka Upanishad, it is stated that there are 2 birds sitting on the same tree. And one of these birds is eating the fruit of this tree, while the other bird is simply witnessing his activities. Only when the bird eating the fruit looks at the other bird does he become free from all anxieties. This is the position of the infinitesimal living entity. As long as he is forgetful of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who witnesses all his activities, he is subjected to the 3-fold miseries. But when he looks to the Supreme Lord and becomes the Supreme Lord's devotee, he becomes free from all anxieties and material miseries. The living entity is eternally subordinate to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is always the master of all energies, whereas the living entity is always under the domination of the Lord's energies. Although qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, the living entity has the tendency to lord it over material nature. However, being infinitesimal, he is actually controlled by the material nature. Thus, the living entity is called the marginal potency of the Lord.
Nirhari.
Okay. Okay, let me see. Because the living entity tends to be controlled by material nature, he cannot at any stage become one with the Supreme Lord. If a living entity were equal to the Supreme Lord, there would be no possibility of his being controlled by material energy. In Bhagavad Gita, the living entity is described as one of the energies of the Supreme Lord. Although inseparable from the energetic, energy is still energy, and it cannot be equal with the energetic. In other words, the living entity is simultaneously one and different from the Supreme Lord. Bhagavad Gita 7.4.5 clearly states that earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego are the 8 elementary energies of the Supreme Lord and are of inferior quality, whereas the living entity is of superior quality. The Vedic literatures confirm the fact that the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge.
Vijay Garanga Prabhu.
The form of the Supreme Lord, which is beyond the modes of material nature, is not like the forms of this material world. His form is fully spiritual and cannot be compared with any material form. According to Vedic literatures, one who does not accept the spiritual form of the Supreme Lord is an atheist. Because Lord Buddha did not accept these Vedic principles, the Vedic teachers consider him to be an atheist. Although Mayavadi philosophers pretend to accept the Vedic principles, they indirectly preach Buddhist philosophy or atheistic philosophy and do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mayavadi philosophy is inferior to Buddhist philosophy, which directly denies Vedic authority. Because it is disguised as Vedanta philosophy, Mayavadi philosophy is more dangerous than Buddhism or atheism. That's an interesting statement.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand that, how Mayavadi philosophy
Wow, yeah.
is inferior. I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah,
Straightforward.
Prabhupada once said, at least Buddha was honest,
Honest.
but the purpose was to revive. If it wasn't for Shankaracharya, the Vedic culture would have been lost. And that's why, if you can't defeat a Mayavadi philosophically, I once got their friendship a few times recently on a comment on a YouTube thing. Yeah, your business is to protect the Vedic culture and revive the Vedic culture that would have been lost by Buddhists. And that's our thing. So the Mayavadis are really strong protectors of Hinduism, Hindutva, it's called Hindu. They, they're very strong on that.
That's a good common ground.
But I'm still not understanding, because when I read through Satsarup Maharaj's book, Reading in Vedic Literature, and when I've spoken many times in university classrooms, high school classrooms, I explain that a little higher up from Buddhism is Sripad Shankaracharya's teachings of impersonalism, because he's at least establishing Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvam Asi. Whereas Lord Buddha doesn't even establish the existence of the soul, but yet Prabhupada here is saying that Mayavadi philosophy is inferior to Buddhist philosophy, which directly denies Vedic authority.
Okay, here's
Wow.
You'll feel better. Although Mayavadi philosophers pretend to accept the Vedic principles, they
Very good.
indirectly preach Buddhist philosophy.
Very good.
You're okay.
Uh-huh.
So they pretend. And that's what most Hindus are now. They worship it's not bhakti when they have temples of even Ram or what to speak of demigods. They all think, okay, I'll worship for a little while, that'll keep me a little sattvic, and then I'll merge. Then take away the deity. They don't believe in the eternality of Krishna or Vishnu Tattvas. And then I'm going to merge. So
I
it's
find
all
that-
fake. It's fake
find-
bhakti.
Yeah, and when you walk in, you sort of feel that. I find it just doesn't feel like those are deities. It's just like
Oh,
Did you ever go to the Birla temple? Any Birla temple?
I don't think so.
No.
Big deities, and they're white, and it's just like statues.
Interesting.
or Yogananda in California.
Yeah.
When you go to their center, they have Krishna and the deity, but there is no mamata. There's no attachment direct, like he is mine, or at least, so if Krishna, the deity, is just like you said, it's a statue, but it's from, because where they're coming from, their conception is contaminated.
I went to the Shivananda ashram in Val-Marais in north of Montreal. And they said, oh, that's the Krishna temple. And I went in, and it was just one Krishna deity, no Radharani, no cow, just Krishna all alone in this big barren room. It just
Do we have a flute?
Bhatrini is asking if he had a flute.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I
Well,
can't
yeah.
remember now. It's
What I didn't hear?
Oh, that Bhatrini asked that he had a flute with him.
his favorite attendant.
Bangshi Priyasaki.
Uh,
The flute gets,
Pathaganam Natyam Gamanamapi Bangshi Priyasaki. Brahma Sanghita verse.
yeah.
Talking is like singing, and walking is like dancing, and the flute is your constant companion.
Companion, yeah. And the gopis steal the flute. What is that? Can't see. Oh,
The flute.
oh, nice. Oh yes, I have similar. I
It's a
have one.
harmonica.
Wow. we recorded a song with Trini. What was it? Rishingas? No, one of the songs that we played. We introduced flute in it. But I love the dialogue in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the dialogue of the flute and the gopis. They say, "Oh, you're dry, full of knots," and
Yeah, you're full of holes. But they're only they're envious. But he's always touching Krishna's lips.
He's always drinking the nectar from his lips. So who is this flute? But at one point, my question was, I mean, perhaps we can put it to another time. But this is like because in one passage, Kaviraj Goswami says he addresses the flute as a male, and in another place it's as a female.
Oh, yeah. But there's a case. They say, "Oh, Prabhupada is Sakarasa because he said, I wish I could be a cowherd boy." But that's what the gopis say also. We wish we could be cowherd boys so we could play with Krishna. So here,
Hello. Yeah.
Wait. The gopis are envious of the flute. So does that mean Shantarasa is higher than Madhurya?
Right. You got him. Yay.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Right. And then Madhurya it's explained. I mean, if we will read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, please, it explains as the elements, it comes from sound, then it solidifies, ether, and then you got wind, etc., all the way down, water, and then you have earth, and earth contains all the other elements. Similarly, Madhurya Ras contains all the other rasas. And so, like I said, the gopis want to go out. Actually, there is during Kartik, Gopashtami, where it's one of the two occasions when you can see Radharani's feet. And she's dressed as a gopa.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. Shubal goes, they're trying to figure out a way to get Radharani out of the compound and Chabat. And his mother and sister-in-law are really keeping an eye on her. So I think Subal lets his calf go into the courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jatila said, "What are you doing here? What do you? Oh, my calf got lost. I think it's in your courtyard. Well, do your business and get out fast."
Yeah.
And so they take, and because he looks like they look alike in face, he lends him a calf. They exchange clothing, and she goes out with a calf in her arms, so to cover her breast, and then she goes out to and she also speaks like a boy, and so Krishna is and the boys are telling the Sakas they're acting as messengers, and they're telling Krishna is dying without you. We don't know what else to do. You must come. And so they take her as dressed as a gopa to Krishna. Krishna's all lamenting, and he's like, and she continues the play. She plays a trick on him. She keeps talking in the voice of a coward boy until he realized, and she shows up. So that's Gopashtami. That's the time when she dresses as a gopa. And in the mornings they would like to do that. But then again, like Narayan Maharaj said, they would meet also in the forest. It's just that some things are not known to the older boys. The Priyanarma Sakas of Balaram, they're a little older, and they don't really, they might know, but they're not going to get involved.
It reminds me a little of Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj changing clothes with Bhakti Siddhanta.
Oh. He was so courageous. Did you read his biography by
No.
Narayan?
No,
oh my God.
Not. Yeah.
Even Narayan Maharaj said, "You must read this book." We have it here. And there was some Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He entered the ashram, and the British were after all the ones who joined the INS, the Indian National, INA, the Indian National Army. You remember you're talking about Chandra Bose. And so Dr. Pragyan Keshav Maharaj in his youth, he joined them. And the British were very thorough, and so they were looking for all these boys, and so he hid in the ashram. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati brought forth all the really skinny, very little Bengali disciples, and the temple said, "What do you think? This British officer is there looking at these boys." They gave up the search. But he was quite a warrior. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was given a big parcel of land now where Yoga Pit is, and the temple, his temple and Samadhi are. All that was occupied by the Muslims, and everybody loved Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Maharaj, even the boatmen, because he was always pay them double or like that. So he had so many friends, and very courageous. So one night they decided, okay, in one night they uprooted, they took all the graves, they threw them in the Ganga, all the remains, and all the tombs were gone. They planted entire forests with mango, jackfruit, etc. And so the Muslims came next day and said, they went to the police and said, wow, where are our graves? And the police came and said, how come the forest, this is the mature forest, there's no way. So he got that way. In that way, he got that land back and gave it to his dear beloved spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Can you hear? It's time to read again. Let me see.
That's Acyutananda's turn. It's Acyutananda Prabhu.
Okay. Vedanta Sutra is compiled by Vyasadeva for the benefit of all living entities. It is through Vedanta Sutra that the philosophy of Bhakti Yoga can be understood. Unfortunately, the Mayavadi commentary, Sharirika Bhashya, has practically defeated the purpose of Vedanta Sutra. In the Mayavadi commentary, the spiritual transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been denied, and the Supreme Brahman has been dragged down to the level of the individual Brahman. That's Shankaracharya's verse that I thought was so great when I was a teenager. Brahman Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmanaiva Napara. Brahman is reality, the material world is false, and the Jiva and Brahman are the same, non-different. That's his slogan.
Wow.
It's very hard to living in. Both the Supreme Brahman and the individual Brahman have been denied spiritual form and individuality, although it is clearly stated that the Supreme Lord is the one supreme living entity and the other living entities are the many subordinate living entities. Thus, reading the Mayavadi commentaries on Vedanta Sutra is always dangerous. Mayavadi Bhasha Chunile Hoila Sarvanash. You hear it, it destroys everything. The chief danger is that through these commentaries, one may come to consider the living entity to be equal to the Supreme Lord. I said that again. Huh? It is easy for the conditioned living entity to be falsely directed to the Bhakti Yoga. In other words, the Mayavadi philosophy has rendered the greatest disservice to humanity by promoting the impersonal view of the Supreme Lord. Thus, Mayavadi philosophers deprive human society of the real message of Vedanta Sutra. And Sridhar Maharaj once said, and they should be buried underground.
Well,
Mayavadis.
Yeah, one time Kirtan, it was in an old BTG. Kirtananda was quoted as saying to Prabhupada, why are you always like smashing away at the Mayavadi impersonalists for? And Prabhupada said, the reason you're objecting is because you are also one. You threw it right back at him.
Yeah, that's how Yogeshwar has a great book, because I edited it. But
Swami in a strange land.
Swami in a strange land. It's in paperback now. So he begins it like that. The forward, the cold opening is Kirtananda saying, Ram Krishna was right. And Prabhupada slams his hand down. Who told you that?
Wow.
So
Uh-huh.
he was tinged with Mayavad. That's why, because Ramakrishna Mission wants to make all the religions one, under them, like Baha'i, all these religions. And I always say, you try to unite all these religions, you end up just making another one. So Kirtananda had a Buddha statue, and he installed a Jesus Murti. Yeah. For instance, like the Shankaracharyas, though, there was a temple somewhere in South India. There was Krishna, Durga, and this Muslim Sai Baba image, a Murti. The Shankaracharya of that province came there and said, take that out. You cannot put them on the same level as Krishna and Durga and put this Sai Baba and say that he's an avatar. They took that statue out and threw it in the river.
Muslim Sai Baba means Shridhi?
Yeah, however you pronounce it. I don't know anything about him.
Shirdi, I think.
Huh?
Shirdi was Sai Baba, I think. Shirdi.
Yeah. Okay, Nirhari Prabhu, please continue. Okay. Nirhari.
Okay. From the very beginning of Vedanta Sutra, it is accepted that the cosmic manifestation is but an energetic display of the Supreme Lord. The very first aphorism, Janmadi Yasya, SB 111, Srimad Bhagavatam, describes the Supreme Brahman as he from whom everything emanates. Everything is maintained by him, and everything is dissolved in him. Thus, the absolute truth is the cause of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. The cause of a piece of fruit is the tree. When a tree produces a piece of fruit, one cannot say that the tree is impersonal. The tree may produce hundreds and thousands of fruits, but it remains as it is. The fruit is produced, and it develops and stays for some time, then it dwindles and vanishes. This does not mean that the tree also vanishes. Thus, from the very beginning, the Vedanta Sutra explains the doctrine of byproducts. These activities of production, maintenance, and dissolution is a transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord, although the energy of the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Lord himself are non-different and inseparable. A touchstone may produce great quantities of gold in contact with iron, but still the touchstone remains as it is. Despite his production, he's producing huge material cosmic manifestations. The Supreme Lord is always in his transcendental form. Om Purnam Mara Purnamidam.
Here it's saying a touchstone may produce great quantities of gold in contact with iron. And in other places, Srila Prabhupada says that yogis knew how to do this alchemical process. I don't remember the details, that they would urinate on, what was it? They would ingest mercury.
They were able to drink mercury, which is the most toxic thing.
Yeah.
But, they were so healthy that it could pass through them, and then urinate on some iron, it could also turn to gold. But the yogi has a tendency to die in the process. But don't do it. There's in a little thermometer, that's enough mercury to kill you.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's very, very amazing.
Put that in vaccinations.
I saw this just recently. If you put a gold leaf on mercury, it'll dissolve.
Really?
The gold will just dissolve into it. Now, what's in that mercury gold alloy? I don't know, but it's a very amazing process.
Is Mercury got a relationship with Lord Shiva?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Back to the subject matter at hand. Where are we? Who's next?
I think it might be my turn.
Yes, please.
Mayavadi philosophy has the audacity to reject the purposes of the Vyasadeva as explained in the Vedanta Sutra, and to attempt to establish a doctrine of transformation which is totally imaginary. According to the Mayavadi philosophy, the cosmic manifestation is but the transformation of the absolute truth, and the absolute truth has no separate existence outside the cosmic manifestation. This is not the message of Vedanta Sutra. The transformation has been explained by Mayavadi philosophers as false, but it is not false. It is only temporary. The Mayavadi philosophers maintain that the absolute truth is the only truth, and that this material manifestation, known as the world, is false. Actually, this is not the case. The material contamination is not exactly false, because it is relative truth, it is temporary. There is a difference between something that is temporary and something that is false. Interesting distinction.
Yeah. That was the one Shankara example that I never really liked was, so if you see a rope in the grass, you think it's a snake. That's illusion. There is no rope. No, there is a rope. The rope is real. The idea of a snake, there's a real snake somewhere else. Those all things are real. So that one thing always bothered me. You have to really lie to yourself to say, oh yeah, it's not a snake. It's not a snake, but it's a real rope. So this whole cosmic material manifestation is real, but it is always changing.
The part
Maya, it means that which is not. Well,
the part is that is not real is when we consider that which is temporary to be permanent. That's the unreal part, right?
right.
Yeah.
And enjoyable as so many other goofy things. Galaxy A21S.
That's the galaxy of Jagadananda, but he just looks like he went off
away. I said it, and he went away.
He went into space.
Went into the galaxy.
I like what Prakashananda Saraswati says to Lord Chaitanya. He said, I know this doesn't make any sense to us, philosophy of Shankaracharya, but because the tradition, a line of sannyasis, we just stay in it.
It appeals to the asuras, and it's a way of giving a very elaborate description of atheism, and so that's the attraction.
Pranava or Omkara.
I don't have to be.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Pranava or Omkara is the chief vibration found in the Vedic hymns, and Omkara is considered to be the sound form of the Supreme Lord. From Omkara, all Vedic hymns have emanated, and the world itself has also emanated from the Omkara sound. The words Tattvam Asi, also found in the Vedic hymns, are not the chief vibrations, but are explanations of the constitutional position of the living entity. Tattvam Asi means that the living entity is a spiritual particle of the Supreme Spirit, but this is not the chief motif of the Vedanta or Vedic literatures. The chief sound representation of the Supreme is Omkara. Acyutananda Prabhu.
The sunshine, or part of a sunshine of the sun ray, is not the sun, and yet the sun cannot be without sunshine. Otherwise, we wouldn't call it the sun. So they're non-different, but they're different. And this, what was said several times in the previous paragraphs, is Shakti Vikar. The energy can be manipulated, can change, can be distorted, but the energetic is never, like the touchstone. But the energy of it, so that even Ramanuja we have a problem with their tattva. They say something like Brahman Vikar, Pariman. We say Shakti Pariman. The energy can be changed. Just like Prabhupada's example, electricity is hot. It can run an electric heater. But by manipulation, the electric power can run a refrigerator. The effect is cold.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite. Great. I mean, when I heard that, I said, this will defeat anything. Anything. So what a amazing. All these faulty explanations of Vedanta Sutra are considered atheistic because the Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the eternal transcendental form of the Supreme Lord. They are unable to engage in real devotional service. Thus, the Mayavadi philosopher is forever bereft of Krishna consciousness and Krishna's devotional service. The pure devotee of the personality of Godhead never accepts the Mayavadi philosophy as an actual path to transcendental realization. The Mayavadi philosophers hover in the moral and immoral material atmosphere of the cosmic world and consequently are always engaged in rejecting and accepting material enjoyment. Hippies, see, that's the other appeal. You can say, I'm everything, everything is me, and why not enjoy? I got a Mayavadi to stop like that. I said, if everything is Brahman, then why are they taking sannyas, Mayavadi sannyasis? Why not be an enjoyer if everything is Brahman and so are you? So the hippies took that up, and then you have sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's encouraged by Mayavadi. The Mayavadi philosophers hover in the Manila. They have falsely accepted the non-spiritual as the spiritual, and the result is they have forgotten the spiritual eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as his name, quality, and entourage. They consider the transcendental pastimes, name, form, and qualities of the Supreme to be products of the material nature. Because of their acceptance and rejection of material pleasure and misery, the Mayavadi philosophers are eternally subjected to material misery. And that's what I felt also when I meditated, and I felt above the material nature, but then I still had na shochati, na kankshi, but sochati and kankshi. I was still hankering and lamenting. See? You can only poof up there for a little while when you meditate, can forget your body, and so can any drug. And that's why Timothy Leary and Baba Richard Alpert, professor, they compared this to drug experiences. Prabhupada said, he's killing them. Timothy Leary said, he's killing them.
Wow. Killing their chance of making spiritual progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was complete henotheist.
What's that word mean, henotheist?
No, I'm not. There was a resort named that. There's a resort named that. I didn't say it right. Oh dear, what does gross material mean? And they named a
hedonist.
Huh?
Hedonist.
No. Oh dear. Anyway, go on. It'll come to me when we hang up.
Okay, and Nirhari Prabhu, it's your turn.
Rihari?
I have my mic off. Sorry, there I was
Okay.
going over. I met Timothy Leary in the backstage of a concert in LA
Oh,
every year. So and I read poems. So I ended up that he sat down in front of me and said, "Well, read my poem," and I looked and it was funny. His Jupiter was really powerful, and it was suspected, in his poem, the amount of Jupiter and like that. And here is somebody who say drop out, drop in. What was it? Drop in, drop out.
Tune in.
Take and tune on. What was it?
Turn on.
Turn on.
tune on,
out.
tune in, drop out.
Yeah, he was the most anti-establishment apparently. So, but in his poem, it was totally, absolutely very different. It was somebody who could play politics very well.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I thought it was interesting.
But I went to one of his lectures, and it was right after he got arrested. And he said, I'm going to stop. They scared the doozle out of him. He was put in jail for a little short time, but they said, we'll let you out. And then he denied taking. But then what he did was he invented LSD 26, which was not on the list of illegal drugs. He manipulated the formula. And was able to duck under the. That word is driving me crazy. Henotheism and gross materialism. And there was a Caribbean island with big fancy hotels that people used to go to with that name.
Oh, yeah.
Aye.
I know.
It means-
Not sure.
And by the way, the Greek philosophers are all for this. They've been praising these Greek philosophers. I could never understand it. Plato and Aristotle, Socrates. What? Examine the thing for the thing. Yeah, I know that. Appreciate a thing. Yeah. What's the big thing? The thing is that they were all pagan, gross materialists. They were all enjoyers.
But don't you like the analogy of the inhabitant of the cave by Socrates?
What is that? The cave? Yeah, that's a little. But he probably
That's
got
pretty
that.
good.
He probably came up with that from the Upanishads.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
just
They
read-
found, Vrindavan, our son, he's an historian, and they found in the 90s the tomb of Philip, the father of Alexander the Great, who's, the Greek, Aristotle was his teacher. Anyhow, in that tomb, you find Shiva Lingam, the swastika around his shield, all the symbols that only they can get by connection to a Vedic society. So the democracy even, it began actually in India, when the philosophers, and they were traveling quite often to India, they went to a level of village. Democracy was instituted. Can you close the door, Baba? Sorry. So it's my turn to read. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir, it is.
Gora, can you get a thesaurus or some kind of word? This is driving me insane.
Okay.
Gross materialism.
I thought it was nihilism.
Pagan
nihilism
enjoyment.
or-
What's it? It starts with an H. Okay. Who's reading me?
No, this is Nirhari's turn.
Read.
Okay.
Read.
The actual devotees of the Lord are always in disagreement with the Mayavadi philosophers. There is no way that impersonalism can possibly represent eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Being situated in imperfect knowledge of liberation, the Mayavadi decries eternity, knowledge, and bliss as materialism. Because they reject devotional service, they are unintelligent and unable to understand the effects of devotional service. The word jugglery they use in an attempt to amalgamate knowledge, the knowable and the knower, simply reveals them to be unintelligent. The doctrine of byproduct is the real purport of the beginning of Vedanta Sutra. The Lord is empowered with innumerable and limited energies, and consequently, he displays byproducts of these energies in different ways. Everything is under his control. The Supreme Lord is also Supreme Controller, and he is manifested in innumerable energies and expansions. And this is a little thing.
That's a great one. The byproducts.
Yes.
The byproduct is, there's another place that says there's a tree. The tree has bark. Tree has wood. Tree has leaves. But you eat the fruit. See? It's all apple, but you eat the apple. You can't eat the bark and the wood. You could look up, let's say, singles resorts, maybe, and there's one that's called.
Singles resorts.
Yes, that's what the name. One of them was the name.
Yeah, they give it a Greek name to it.
Yes.
Oh God, it's in the tip of. But what I like, this passage that Prabhupada writes, it reminds me of that Christianity really has some of the Vaishnava principles, of course, but obviously they lost it, due to, parampara being interrupted. But I remember being a kid and they said that God is omnipotent. And so you'd repeat that. It's like us chanting, "Oh, Tulasi, please make me a maidservant." So, Prabhupada give us the highest the highest verses to worship Tulsi. But we repeat them every morning, and then they're all fighting, saying, "No, Prabhupada is a Saka." Hello. Yeah. And he got in trouble with his godbrothers, saying, "Oh, you're giving them that prayer? It's just too high." So the same thing, and with Christians, they're omnipotent, but then they said, and I love what Prabhupada answers. They said, "Oh, there is only, and the only begotten child of God, the only begotten son." And Prabhupada said, "No, God is omnipotent. He can have infinite amount of children. That Jesus is, Lord and very special, yes. Yeah. But he's not the only child."
What language was the New Testament written in? Anyone? Question? This I know. Huh?
Aramaic.
No.
No, that's the original. That's the Old Testament.
Oh,
no,
the original.
No,
sorry.
Latin. Greek.
Greek. Greek. They make so many mistakes when translating from Aramaic to Greek.
That's what I'm saying. Rabbis and the atheists, they love it. The atheists call the rabbis on their shows to show the mistakes of the Christian Bible, 27 books. They said, well, like Jesus was teaching in the temple, and he said this and that, and then they're reading the Greek version, a Greek translation of what's called the Septuagint. He's reading. Well, Jesus wasn't reading the Greek translation; he was reading the Hebrew. There was no Greek version of the Septuagint in that time, and so many things.
Yeah. So it wasn't in Aramaic the first, or what
they spoke that. That's just a vernacular of Hebrew. So right. Jesus spoke it also, but the Torah is written in Hebrew, and then all the New Testament is written in Greek. That was the language of scholarship. Then Saint Jerome, who had stigmata, I think he has blood on his hands, I know there's a picture. He translated into Latin, that was okay. To translate it into German and English, you would be hanged. You'd be burned at the stake. Because the Catholic Church did not want people, the common man, to read it. And so when he was in exile, Martin Luther translated the Bible into German. Well, that was terrible. He would have been killed for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you the co-host if you like, Acyutananda. You can go on for as long as you want, but I didn't get any sleep last night. That's why I fell asleep behind the wheel today.
Go to sleep.
Yeah, but if you want to continue, I can make you co-host.
Oh boy.
You can go on for as many hours.
Could somebody please find this word? It's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
It's a great word, and it's a very useful word for this. Gross sense gratification, and the name of this resort, and look up synonyms and thesauruses.
I've got a thesaurus here right now.
So you won't be able to put up the text anymore.
If I make you the co-host, you can do it. I know. I'm not sure if you can, because I've got it here.
I don't know this art.
I've got it on my screen, so I guess not.
No,
we just finished a chapter though. We did all.
We can just talk.
Yeah.
Yes. Now I can't get to my Google, so I can't look up the synonym. Can anybody?
Well, you have to look up like what it will be like, gross materialism or an attitude?
Might
or-
be, yeah, enjoyment, but it might be in Greek. It's Greek.
Under materialistic in the thesaurus, it says
Yeah,
preoccupation with or stress upon material rather than intellectual or
it's just
spiritual.
one word,
Banausic, earthly,
close. Yeah,
mundane, sensual, temporal, carnal, profane, terrestrial, unspiritual, unworldly, heavenly, unfleshly. Those are some of the terms. But
Right.
it's not clear to me. You want the etymological root of materialist?
It's a Greek or Latin word. It's a terrific word, which means total deprivation.
Total deprivation.
Total degradation. And they named this singles resort after it. I mean, it was, I couldn't believe it. It's just total orgies.
Like a
Ling-
Caligula.
Lingui?
Hedonistic?
Lingui?
No, it starts with an H.
Fast complete degradation to
Hedonism.
a study undertaken for Rhodos Island.
It might still be there. I wish I could, I can't switch over to my Google or I could look it up. It would even,
I'm not getting a lot. I'm looking.
all right, I'll look it up after
What
we
happened
go.
to Siddhanta? He just left.
What?
I was reading. Yeah. Yeah, he just left.
All right. He left a long time ago.
I know. Yeah.
I scared
Right
him
at the
away.
beginning.
I scared him away.
Or
Don't,
I
please
did.
remember to email me that the numbers and the password for that other Zoom
Yes.
conference. I
Okay.
really want to be on that
Okay.
and to hear. And in fact,
Yeah.
this is
If you have
very
the
di- Go on.
the WhatsApp app, you can chat, you can do video chat, you can text, and send photographs, etc.
Yeah,
And
I
so
like
they
the
have the
Zoom
group-
way. I like the Zoom
Yeah.
method the best, but you can't go back.
Oh yes.
Like the 77 hours, you can't find who spoke when.
No, it's a great platform. I'm
Oh,
just
it's
saying that
great.
they communicate. That's how I found the group. And then Budar Prabhu, I don't know if you know Budar, he's from Boston, Prabhupada disciple and astrologer. He was like one of the first ones to join Suryanarayan Maharaj in England. And I think at that time, no, he was in Amsterdam or in Holland. But we became very good friends. And he's the one that preached to Ch.25, became a devotee, and then later on he took initiation from Narayan Maharaj. He's heading the whole team of devotees and doing all the conferences, everything that's on Zoom. So I'll send you that, and then you'll get my email.
Hey, okay, I'm going to close out. This is really, but I'll come back. I'll look it up because it's the name of this resort, and that'll do it. Carry on. I'll give you a topic to discuss.
Okay.
Grape nuts flakes are not grapes, nuts, or flakes. Discuss, please.
You can see his impersonalist background.
Wow, I have the power here. I have the power here to end meeting for all.
Oh
No,
my God.
I'm just going to leave meeting.
We have to talk about grape nuts.
Assign. Okay, I'm assigning Nrihari as
Uh-oh.
He said he assigned you, I guess, as a
No idea. Yeah. Assign me to what? Two of us.
What were you talking about? The Zoom meeting? I don't know if other people are invited. I don't want to butt my nose in where I'm not welcome,
Oh,
but I was curious.
yeah,
I didn't hear.
No, it's pretty much everybody around the world, and many of the, I see, because Sri Narayan Maharaj had so many under his, you said, not shelter, but under his guidance.
Yeah.
He had some disciples from like Gaur Govinda Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, including his secretary and like that. They were disciples of Vaman Maharaj, his godbrother. Vaman Maharaj joined the mat when he was 11 years old, and his mother and uncle, they were disciples of Acyutananda. So he took initiation very early on, Harinam, and then he took initiation from Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Maharaj as the Dikdev. And so, no, these meetings, I think they're pretty much, devotees can participate and you can listen to this around the world. Last night, it was, they have a different, Jashananda is heading all the groups. And there's one group, I don't remember, it's called Mercy, Grace, and one of the topics is how to develop that greed, that lolium, for that thirst, for the service of Radha Krishna Jugal, meaning the young couple.
Grape nuts flakes. We're talking about grape nut flakes here.
I found it. I looked up singles resorts. The first one was called a huge super hotel. It's called Temptation. The second one down was Hedonism.
That's what I mentioned.
You said?
That's hedonism.
Yeah.
Okay. You said hedonism. And you gotta ask.
You must have missed your grape nut flake
Hedonism
this morning.
And that's the name of the plan. And then the other
Hedonism, yeah.
I mean, it's like.
Well, it was very in vogue. I mean, if you you probably don't remember.
Wow.
In Los Angeles in the 80s, actually in the 70s and 80s. Well, anyhow, that's when the hedonistic movement began, and headed by a lot of the gay community, of course. Enjoyment was real big.
But this was the culture of Greek and Rome also.
Yeah.
Look at Caligula.
So that's Caligula, and they all, and that's why we were taught. That's why I always wondered, why is all the government buildings done in Greek architecture? They're pushing all this on. It's all hedonism.
Yeah.
They're godless. They have no. Do any of these philosophers talk about the supreme personality of Godhead, or even the spirit soul? Only Socrates had some idea that there's this, so that I am not this body.
But the origins of those two cultures.
But then, so if I'm not the body, let the body enjoy it. See?
Right.
I mean, it's Kali.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just saying it's Kali Yuga, so this is gonna be what's going to be highlighted, right? I mean, it's the theme is going to come back and back. How to enjoy Max.
Yeah. And when you're disgusted with enjoyment, then Prabhupada said, then there will be violence.
Oh, yeah, anger. Everybody's walking around angry, frustrated because they can't get what they want. That enjoyment.
Antifa and BLM. And what is their main? They're not having orgies. They're not having sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They're having violent, smashing, protesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the college culture now.
Did you hear Prabhupada ever speak about how first we have government run by the Brahmins, they became corrupted. Then you have the government by Kshatriyas, and you have that monarchies that we saw the end of them in last century. And now we have the epoch or the time, the millennium of the Vaishyas, government ruled by Vaishyas, but now they're corrupted. And so unfortunately, it seems like, movements like that by Sudras, less than Sudras.
Communism is what? The workers' people, the Workers' Party, the people's, government, the people's hospital. Well,
But
I'm
it's such a
so now out of they say 7 billion plus people, so I'm a 7 billionth of a thing. There's no key. But I did hear something like this, that in Vedic culture, these isms and ocracies go on simultaneously.
Mm,
Sure.
yeah.
Brahman is, what is that? Oh, now I'm really forgetting words here. What is no government? That
Anarchy.
anarchy. Oh, Brahman is really anarchy, that no one can
Yeah.
govern them. They're to
Yeah.
be governed themselves. Kshatriya is monarchy, Vaishya is capitalism, and Shudras, I don't know. I don't know what.
What
Is
about the
Prabhupada
rest?
said, the philosophy based on envy.
Yeah, but Shudras have a code. Shudras also have a code. They're governed.
I like the definition of a Shudra as one who works without resentment. It's not exactly what we see the common worker in this day and age. So it makes me wonder, what is the
some of the like garage car mechanics? They love that smell of the thing. You know,
That's true.
Prabhupada's story about you Americans are so attached to your machines, and he talked about the fishermen. You know that story?
No.
Okay. It was a stormy night, and a fisherman comes to a household and says, "Can I stay here?" "Yes, come in, come in." "But what is that smell?" "Oh, that's my net and my baskets." "And we'll leave that outside." And then all night long, the householder hears the fisherman is pacing back and forth. He says, "What's the matter? Can't you sleep?" He says, "No, I have to be with that smell.
wow?
I've never been, I always have my net and my basket, and that fish smell, I love that. I can't." He says, "So you people, you Westerners, anytime there's a problem, you think machine. You have to have a machine." Another
Yeah.
example, in Mayapur, we set up a pavilion for weavers to come. And the average
remember.
weaver would do about 3 or 4 saris a day. And this one guy, he did 7 a day, every day. He was
Wow.
strong, tink dong, tink tink dong, with pedals on his feet. And I said, "Well, what do you think about all day?" He says, "What do you mean, what do I think about? I think about the work." He's happy. If you force them
Yeah.
into college, this is the problem. You force Shudras into college to learn to read literature, which is useless. But they don't even have to. They'd rather give them work and jobs and sports and so on.
Yeah. If you remember when we were little, there were, especially in New York too, but Buenos Aires was like that. You had shops, stores, there were specialities, there were the craftsmen, and they were very proud of what they did. Wow, we go back 3 generations, 4 generations. We're the shoemakers. They were the best at a particular thing.
Yeah.
Now in this generation, they don't know anything. They buy whatever is mass produced.
Yeah, and
India.
those good craftsmen were highly regarded.
Yes, and very well paid.
Oh yeah.
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 We miss them in society. Where are they?
We do, and then if something broke, like a zipper or whatever, you had so many people who would do it, and your little stores and like that. The clothing was tailored. I remember my dad would go, measure. If you had less money, then you go to those stores where they made several suits or whatever. But I remember being a kid, and city was like a cross.
They don't want that. The capitalist doesn't want, the Vaishya capitalist doesn't want that, because if something breaks, buy a new one.
Yes.
Yep.
That's why they're breaking up families. If there's a family, you buy 1 refrigerator. If there's divorce, then the family breaks up, you buy 3 refrigerators. They all have separate houses.
Yeah, that's
For business.
My
That's why
father-
I always wondered why the Vaishya is lower than the Kshatriya. Kshatriya he can kill, he can hunt, he can have sense gratification, but truth. A Vaishya it says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, knowing the necessity of dishonesty in business, opened a school. He did not want to go into business. The necessity of having to lie.
Wow.
Yeah. Good point.
My father,
Wow.
I mean, that happened in the West too, that one salary will take care of the family.
Yeah.
My mother was very proud of the fact that she was a housewife, and very important to them, it was to raise their children well. It's my mother Jashoda, she or Nanda Baba, they will pull Krishna's ear. They will chastise him because they wanted him to grow up a straight, honest, of course, pastime human being. But that was the thing. So it was a very, a sign of pride that, my mother was able to, cook for us or supervise the cook, but be there. We always have a father, mother, parents were together. I don't think when I went to school down there was no divorce, so there was no such a thing as, when I came here now. I mean, the family, what they call the nucleus, could be whatever now. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
and like you said, the capitalists are like rejoicing. Now they have wife and husband and the kids. Everybody has to go out and work.
In India, there was still, and maybe all throughout Europe and Japan also, they broke up the extended family idea. Not just the father and children, husband and wife and children, but the grandchildren, the cousins, the uncles, the brothers. They all would live in one big mansion or several mansions in the community, and they had a little empire, and they broke that up. When after World War II, MacArthur, he broke up this system. And
MacArthur?
yes.
Was that the Marshall?
My father was in that. He was for a while in the Philippines, and then he was in Japan during the occupation. So he didn't have to face battle, or he was not in the wartime, but he was there just after. So he lived. But they were breaking up, and they'd have posters and this. They would break up the landowner system.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to give the land. We're going to give the land to the people. Yeah, well, without a rich capitalist, you can't support it. So you get a smaller plot of land and 2 cows, or 2 goats. And if you go over here, you get arrested.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing. Nowadays, it's hard to find anywhere where the parents stay together and one, what to speak of, only one of them working. I mean, generally the man, right? But
unheard of.
Broken families. Everything's broken family.
Yeah, Prabhupada.
They're making combination gay families. 2 men, 2 women, 2 and they're starting to quarrel with each other. This is dirty. Are we still on YouTube recording?
I hope not.
I don't like.
They're gonna
kill me. No, but the LGBTQXYZ, they're quarreling. Oh, well, I'm a man, but I identify as a woman. So if you're gay, I can't be with you, but I can be with you because you're a woman that believes she's a man. So we're equal, so we can. And why are you persecuting us? It's just insanity.
And that was brought about by the demon crazy, isn't it? Democracy, where they made us, okay, well, you can't discriminate. We're all equal. If you're in a spiritual platform, but I mean, how can you say, everybody's equal? Guna karma, etc. I mean, we're not. There is no way.
And
the glory of existence is variety.
And what do they give? They give drugs, legal, illegal. They make things now. Marijuana is not addictive, but it is the most psychologically worst thing for your brain.
Yeah.
Although it's Ayurvedic medicine, and
That's
Vrindavan actually in studying when the churning of the ocean, the milk it comes out that it's not a bad evil herb, but it's like anything. If it's abused, it's a medicine,
yes.
and it's fantastic. It has uses, but then as an entertainment or whatever, or an abused drug, then there'll be side effects.
Yeah, the South American people chew on the cocoa leaf, and they're not strung out junkies.
Yeah.
But you rarefy it and turn it into cocaine and crack, and you're dead in a few years.
They process it with
Yeah.
gas or some kind of petroleum products. Oh, really harsh stuff too. It's like,
Well, it's a direct enemy of the culture of cow culture, cow protection. You check that in the history of when the petroleum was introduced and the fever machine in the 30s, you had the monopolists like Hertz, for example. For him, when in the 30s, National Mechanics, the famous magazine, it talks about the $1 billion crop, which was hemp. It's just marijuana, but if it's cultivated in different ways, you're going to end up with mostly males. And if you grow it together. So there's a film in Congress that was shown during the Second War, and it was called Hemp for Victory. And all the products of hemp were like from sewing the shoes for the soldiers to the parachute that saved Bush Senior's life, to all the roping, etc., came from marijuana. It's the strongest fiber known, natural fiber known. Then the pulp has its use. So it was a fantastic crop to have. Well, that one didn't settle well with Hertz, who had monopoly over all the forests of the West Coast to make his newspaper. He was a newspaper tycoon. And so he went on to pay propaganda films like Reefer Madness, etc., and created through his newspapers, a fear of that the Mexicans now they're going to come. Those are the ones who smoke the dope, and they're going to rape your, women and your daughters, and we have to do something to make it illegal. But behind, you think he cared about if people get intoxicated or not? They had a worse thing. It was called alcohol, and it was a terrible thing.
That was legal.
And that was legal. Even during the Prohibition, one of the biggest buyers of alcohol were the senators and the White House. It was all done through black market. So, but if you study how systematically the America, for example, had over 1 million bullocks at one point. All the labor was done. I saw it in India. Teams of 6 bulls. They were enormous. I mean, they had like species of cows that like pretty big size, and they would pull them out the same amount of load. And because they had trains of them, do you remember seeing them on the road from Delhi to Vrindavan, camels, and when they have bullocks and like that? America had a very similar thing, and all the land was cultivated. A lot of medicine was coming that way. But as soon as Rockefeller, came out with the gas products and gasoline and like that, he called herbal medicines, which were very, very common. They called the alternative. And the doctors that were specialized, the pharmacists specialized in that, they call them quacks. And he went on to fund universities around America.
Did I tell the story of the Pope and the mercury? Okay. Well, by the way, today I went to the dentist. I'm going to get new teeth. The nurses did everything. They took X-ray, they took impressions, and the doctor comes in the end, shakes my hand.
Right.
The nurses did everything. Now, this started in a million years, centuries ago. The Pope had syphilis, and the herbs didn't work. So then here's where quack comes from. quicksilver is mercury. And it was called quack. They were the quacks, but they gave the Pope mercury treatment and he got cured. And he said, what can I do for you now? They said, nothing, just get rid of the herbalists. And that's when they called them witches, and men took over and made it into the medical profession. Now it's a profession. We make money. We sell, and it's again, and they make up a false disease. And this is in an old movie I saw. Yeah, these doctors make up a disease and then they sell you a pill to cure it. And that's been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
And the herbal thing will be forgotten. I'm very upset. I'm disappointed. In New York, there were huge Chinese apothecaries.
Yes.
But no Ayurvedic. And the Chinese insisted. They told the AMA that we have to have our version of our medical herbologies, but Ayurvedic did not do it because many Indian doctors are allopathic doctors. Allopathic means to use the opposite thing to kill a disease. Homeo means use the same thing.
Right.
Anyway.
That's interesting. Everywhere in China, anywhere there's a Chinatown, it's the same. They have all their stuff and they maintain that very rigidly, like very strictly.
Yeah. We had a store in Chinatown in Honolulu. Our store was in Chinatown in Honolulu, and it was a cultural center. So we had all books, Prabhupada's books, and Sridhar Maharaj's books, Sri Narayan Maharaj's books. We even have Gurudas. I mean, different. I think we closed it before we could have your book, Acyutananda Prabhu. But right next to us, boom, there was the herbal pharmacy, the Chinese herbal pharmacy. So if you have a practitioner, and you can go and acquire herbs, they're fantastic, some of them. But for me in general, with my body, constitutional, whatever, I can have. That's one thing that was explained to me in South India. Dr. Ch.25, he's a professor of Ayurvedic medicine, but his courses are taught at the medical school where you get your regular MD. It's in Manipal. Manipal has one side of the street is the medical school and the other side is the technical institute. So they have the MIT, Manipal Institute of Technology. So, but Dr. Shivkumar said, no, Ayurveda, what it means is actually local. So I said, well, why don't we import some of what you've given me, like some of this medicine that probably will be useful for so many people. At that time, I had a problem with my liver. And so he recommended, we went to he had his own land and wanted to have the deities and Radha Krishna, have devotees to come and have like a clinic where you stay and they give you the local thing. So I said, why don't we import some of this stuff? He said, no, you don't need to. You just find the equivalent where you are. So Ayurveda means that you eat your local food. Like Prabhupada said, grow your own food, even grow your own clothing. That's something that can be done in Hawaii. Hawaii is terrible. It's like terrible in the sense that at government level, or maybe beyond them, whoever's controlling commerce everything is imported. The majority of people here, they go to Walmart and they buy veggies from California or who knows how far they have traveled. They buy everything that they buy, including the milk. Milk is being imported. And there you have one of the biggest trusts in the world is the Bishop Trust. And they own, I don't know, over maybe 2 million acres of land that is just vacant. It's just sitting there. And so Prabhupada said, where is the scarcity? There is no scarcity. We can't allow them to grow their food. And then there'll be no problem. But they want everything centralized.
This is in India. There's a thing called art silk, and I think it's derived from jute. From the 1 year in Mayapur, both sides of Bhaktisiddhanta Road. The price must have went up. Everything, they didn't grow rice or wheat or anything, they grew jute for that whole season. And there was a caravan for days of bullock carts bringing this beautiful blonde hair of the and then the stalks they made into charcoal. And then I would see on the side of the road there would be old ladies that would take some of the scraps and make rope with it. And I think these gunny sacks, and I think they can refine it into, because this is very slippery. It doesn't make a good dhoti because it'll unravel on you, but it makes good chadar.
But you know,
that's very, very.
It feels nice.
Feels good.
It's nice.
Yeah, but
I
you know
once
what? You
tried
were,
to make a dhoti and it kept falling off.
you were mentioning the dhotis. Do you remember the looms that we had in Mayapur? As you entered the compound, they were to the right, and there was this long, porch like, and then there were rooms. And one of the in '76, Bhavananda gave me the service of serving the devotees coconut doves, and so we would fill one of the doors would open to the street, and the other one to the compound of our temple, and in Mayapur. So I've always been kind of a good salesman, and so I was making about $100 US per day on coconut alone. I had a helper, Bengali guy, who was like so fast, machete, ba 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 in the air. The people were mesmerized, devotees, especially Westerners. And so 2 coconuts, 3 coconuts, everybody was getting coconut, going on parikrama and then coming back and getting more coconut. So Bhavananda said, okay, I'll give you a gift. I'll give you 2 dhotis from the loom. And I swear I never had dhotis like that ever again. I still have them. They never frayed, nothing. They're still there, strong as ever.
Maybe it was
so
from
tell me,
that guy that
that
made
was
7 a day.
Yeah, probably so. Yes, I think so.
The reason we did that was they had to travel to the end of Mayapur. They lived in villages all over Mayapur, and they'd have to come to Mayapur, then go down the road, take the boat to Krishnanagar where the looms were. So they asked it. Also, Madhamaraj for some time had some looms, but it saved them a whole long journey to go there.
Right.
Bon Maharaj in Vrindavan, he created a college. He wanted it to be a Vaishnava institute, but he was approached by the Uttar Pradesh government that if you could have a college in Vrindavan, then all the people, the only college nearby was Agra. So they would have to go there and live there separate. They wanted to be apart from their families. So his Vaishnava Institute turned into a degree college. And it was
still there.
Yes,
Yeah.
so Monday.
Yeah.
He gave sannyas to a few people. They're all named Bon Maharaj. Bhakti this and Bhakti that, Bon Maharaj. But I don't know how, I think they only are professors in mundane college.
Interesting.
So I don't know what time. It must be late for you.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. So maybe on Wednesday you'll see my teeth.
Are they doing
So
implants?
No, just adjusting the teeth that I had. They got uncomfortable, and so some devotees are paying for it. They did a GoFundMe.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, but I noticed that the ladies were doing all the work.
Yeah, now it's a new thing. You go to the doctor, and there's practitioners.
Yeah.
APs or something, assistant practitioners. And they do like, I got wounded, or I cut my finger pretty badly with a tool here, and I went to the urgent care, they call it, and there's a clinic actually, part of a big system, and now it's all computer. They knew everything about me. anyhow, this woman said, "Oh, I'm so and so," but I thought it was a doctor, but she did everything, all the treatment, the suturing, the stitches that I had to have. Everything was done that way.
Does my picture freeze also?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's everyone. It did that on the Guru Purnima thing. Oh, that was fantastic. That was just
missed it.
fantastic.
I wanted
But I
to see
missed most of this. I heard Bhakti Avadut Maharaj and some
Yeah.
others, and this Gaur Sundar. It was terrific.
Did they record those?
But I missed almost everybody else. And then Padmanabha Maharaj got on, and they only gave him half an hour. And he said, "It's up already." He just started his introduction, and they cut him off.
Oh.
So
He's good. I like him.
I prepared. I took notes and I covered almost everything. And then I still said, "Oh, I should have said."
I
Because they were
know.
disciples of Bhakti. So what I did was I wrote a sign once on a few days ago, and I wrote a sign. I held it up. "I have one more story about Bhakti Bhai Bhakuri Maharaj. 1 minute, please." And they go, "What's that?" And they put me on because there's so many disciples of Puri Maharaj. So I said, I left him out. And then I have another story. I met, I'll tell it now to use, Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj.
Oh, yes.
Now I was in Puri because I was told to have some Jagannath deities made big to be sent to somewhere in the West. And there was the Mistri, the Shilpa Shastri, who made it according to the dimensions. And he had squares and compasses and everything made, designed beautiful, exactly like Jagannath. So I was there a few days. So I would go every night, afternoon, to Siddhanti Maharaj has his mutt. His mutt is exactly bordering the Shankaracharya mutt.
Oh,
That's like one of the Vaticans of Mayavadi. And his mutt faces the back where there were samadhis of their acharyas. And he's speaking on loudspeakers. Now, he's the one that started a riot in a village in India, and he called Vivekananda Gunda, and and Sri Maharaj came in. Prabhupada told me, he said they got out with their lives. So he was an upstart. So he's still like that. So he had loudspeakers, and he said, "You Mayavadis, you say this world is false, sab mithya. You say it is all false, mithya, jagan mithya. Then why do you have your dead bodies of your acharyas here in temples, in little samadhi temples all over? Why aren't they? Why do you glorify their dead bodies all over?" Oh, he could have got killed with it. It would be like standing in St. Peter's Basilica with a bullhorn yelling at the Pope. It's very strange, though. What's very strange is Shankaracharya established 4 mutts. The one in Puri is called Govardhan Mutt. And there's a little bas-reliefs of Krishna here, and they're holding up Govardhan Hill over the doors. Shankaracharya.
Well, he wrote the Jagannathakamam that Lord Chaitanya would recite.
Jagadish Hari.
Yes.
There's a Ramanuja Pandit who says there are 5 Vaishnav acharyas: Ramanuja, Madhva, Nimbarkas, Vishnu Swami, and Shankaracharya. He calls him a Vaishnava.
Yes, yeah.
But he didn't read the teachings of Lord Chaitanya tonight.
Right. But this year we watched the Orissa on television and Doordarshan, the Delhi big station. And the very first person they allowed to come up to and begin the worship of Lord Jagannath is they give him the title of Shankaracharya.
Yes,
he's the 100. He's very old now, and they had to assist him to get up there, and then he was doing parikrama around Lord Jagannath. He did an arti. Actually, they did arti to Lord Jagannath. Then the king he did arti, and can't remember who else came, but I said, oh geez. And so the anchorman or whoever was the announcer was saying how the relationship between the temple pandas and the Shankarites are, that line is they're all friends, and there's such a long-standing relationship.
I saw the Sringeri Mutt. He was super powerful during his time in India, and he would also walk across India. I forget his name too, but we saw him. He had gone senile, and he had passed on to his younger successor, who met me, and Yasodananda met with him, and he appreciated us. Yes, he appreciated that foreigners have become Vaishnava.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Were those talks for Guru Purnima, were they recorded at all? Do you know?
Yes, they're on YouTube.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm yet to find myself the link to that.
But there's a lot of there were a lot of young ladies talking just for 15 minutes I didn't know them. But there was also a Chinese lady who spoke through a translator. She was so sincere. Hare Lama, Lama Guladev, give me Hare Lama. And she was so sincere.
General Maharaj, when they came to see him, we helped actually build the Gaudiya Math. They said the Giridhari Gaudiya Math, which is in Govardhan, and it's in the land. Actually, General Maharaj told me the place. Actually, it was a place that he had gone to when he was in Man. They said he had some. He left the mat. He couldn't stand the separation. He was in Mathura for so long, and somehow he decided he went to Govardhan to chant. That was his rebellious way.
There must have been some genuine Shaivites who were not Mayavadis, because Prabhupada had some regard at Kumbh Mela, because he would tell us with honor that some of them are 500 years old that come down from the Himalaya. So they're not Mayavadi, philosophers.
Right.
Just reading Sharira Kavasha isn't going to make you empowered. But there was some genuine yogis who got some powers from Shiva, Rudra, and demigods and other. Dattatreya, I knew a Siddha yogi in South India, and he said he was empowered by Dattatreya, who is Shiva and Vishnu
combined
for some time. So our kirtan must have appealed to his Vishnu half, and he liked us very much. He gave me a salagram to bring to Mayapur. That's a nice story. So this.
Have you ever seen the?
What?
Go ahead.
No, you go.
No. Have you ever seen the deity of Harihara in Navadvip?
No, but I've seen others. I didn't see it there. Yeah.
That is a very special place because actually Lord Shiva goes there. After Kashi, he abandons Kashi and he goes to Navadvip. And that spot too is where he comes after. It's kind of like a dream-like. Lord Shiva is asking Krishna, say, "Oh, that Maya you have, I mean, is it that powerful, really?" So that's when Mohini manifests, and he goes crazy for her.
Previous to Shankaracharya, the Sandipani Muni was a Shaivite, but he wasn't a Mayavadi.
Right.
Agastya Muni, they were Shaivite, but he was not a Mayavadi.
Right. But Sandipani Muni's what is it? His son is Madhumangal.
Madhumangal.
Yes.
Really?
Who is actually Narada Muni.
Yeah. But that's the arrangement for Boma Lila.
Right.
Those are long. They're terrific, and we are advised by Rupa Goswami and Dhyanacharya and all these what we think are Rasika or Sahaja or so in Ashtaka. We should study the Bhagavatam of Krishna's Boma Lila.
Yeah.
Then we can also, because that's where we're going next. See,
Right.
you have to
Right.
prepare for that. And there's a dialogue between Narayan Maharaj and Gaur Govinda Maharaj, where he asked about that, and he calls it the Bhoma Lila that we are can be promoted to is also called Sadhana Lila. Sadhana Lila. And Prabhupada says the training goes on there. See, and I think
Yeah.
I think you can fall out from that. Yes.
Hmm.
So
Oh.
when Prabhupada says you can fall from what we were once with Krishna Lila in his sport, it could be in the Bhoma Lila or Mahaprabhu's Bhoma Lila, but not the
Oh.
Nitya Goloka Lila.
No, that no. So they asked this question
But
to
I
Srila
think
Prabhupada. In 75, we were in Mexico City, and they asked this question, Prabhupada, when we perfect our bhakti, we go straight to the spiritual world? How? Prabhupada said, no, you go to a planet, an earth planet, in a different universe where Krishna is, Bhoma Vrindavan. You take birth in the family or relation to Krishna in whatever of the four rasas that are prominent in Braja. And he said at the end, when Krishna falls his pastime, then he'll take you back home.
now Narayan, I read in this conversation with Gaur Govinda, you may go on being reborn in those Bhoma Lilas.
Wow.
And then Krishna may decide to, it's not right away. You may go on, which is not so bad.
I mean, Krishna's there, everybody's there.
I once, a few months ago, I prayed, I said, I volunteer to be the Shakti Avesh avatar forever. I'll be Parsuram except Buddha. I don't want to be Buddha. But I volunteer to be a Shakti Avesh avatar for as long as it takes. Then I think, well, that's the whole Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that he has to go, and that's I just read that in Guru and His Grace. It's a zigzag way to go. He becomes the king of Jagannath, Puri, then he becomes Indra, then he becomes Brahma, he becomes Shiva. And each time he has to again come back. I'm not satisfied here. Comes back to Jamuna to do mantra puja. Then he goes to Vaikuntha, but there's no lila there. So again he comes to Krishna. And then this is important that Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who was one of the authors of the Not Even the Leaves Fall, when Gopa Kumar comes to Goloka finally, and Krishna says, yes, I've been waiting for you. I've been with you all this time. Nobody else knows him.
Mm,
It's not that he fell from there.
right.
In common language, we say, just like before, I said, when the jiva falls or he returns to. These are words that now should be modified. They were used constantly because it's unthinkable to fall from Vaikuntha. So these words like when we fall and when the jiva falls and when we return back to Godhead, these words may be changed now because it's important. Just as it was very important, Vaishnavas have no need to take sannyas, but it was important for Bhaktisiddhanta to establish that because Ramakrishna people, they were preaching hedonism, they were preaching socialism, mundane socialism, and wearing sannyas dress. So Bhaktisiddhanta wore it, and he wore buttons and a coat and sleeves and rode in a car with a tridandi. See, but he had to establish that. But that other way, that's where the Brahmins say, oh, that's not really Vaishnava. But that for the time and place, that was very necessary. And if Prabhupada came in a suit, I wouldn't follow me. It was necessary for him to come and appear as Swamiji.
Yes. Good point. Perfect location, perfect timing, right into.
Oh, it was just arranged at that time because people were still thinking. The hippie movement was still thinking that they were frustrated with material, industrial life. Many of them went to, and even some Richard Belzer. Oh, I did remember that name. Richard Belzer wrote a book about that time, and he said the CIA wanted to poisoned them with LSD, but in many cases it had the opposite effect. And they became more spiritual and more natural and more sensitive to spiritual things.
Right.
Just like Duryodhan
Yeah.
poisoning Bhima.
Right.
Backfired on.
Right. But Koshalya used to tell me, she told me a story one time, she said, Prabhupada, I took LSD and I saw Krishna. And Prabhupada said, that's because your level, that was your realization, is not the drug. Because some people went pretty crazy on LSD and they thought they were God.
Yeah, I can say it now because it was said on the Guru Purnima thing. I was there when Jadharani came first, Shamarani came first. And she asked Prabhupada, is it okay to take LSD? And she said, I'm on LSD now. And Prabhupada just said, don't take LSD. And I was with Prabhupada. He spoke at Columbia University, and they said, well, what about drugs? And if you haven't taken it, how can you say it's no good? He said, my disciples have taken it, and they chant Hare Krishna, and they have given up LSD.
Even that, yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So they've given it up.
Yeah. Is it there might be like boats that took you to the shore, but now you're not going to drag the boats. I mean, you just let go of it and keep walking.
So how is that similar to Duryodhan poisoning Bhima?
Well, I mean,
What's the rest of the story? What?
He poisoned him in the cake, right? It was
Yeah.
he fed him the poison cake, and then did he fall in, or was he pushed into the Ganga? And then he sank, and then it's described that there were some Nagas who bit him, and it was their poison counteracted the poison of the what he was given, and then he was one of the things that happened. He got taken. He had some. Gosh, my memory is not very clear on this. It's Mahabharata. He had relatives or something, and they honored him, and that's where he also got the strength of 10,000 elephants from that. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
You broke up right on that word. What? He got 10,000?
He got the strength of 10,000 elephants from that same.
Okay.
But I'm a little hazy on those details.
That's perfectly okay. I'm going to repeat that and claim that I remembered it. I heard that a long time ago.
I read it a long time ago.
Those Nagas are very interesting. I don't know everything about them, but they're all over temples. Even Prabhu Mohan mentions how they're all over Angkor Wat and have so many Naga temples. These Nagas are not bad.
Yeah, Queen Kunti was the Naga princess.
Kunti herself.
Yes.
So that's where the connection is, because it was something about his family. Bhima, it was family who or extended family who received him with honor and
right.
And he was there for some time, but then as he recovered, and then when he was returned, I mean, it was, I don't know what the time passage, but when he returned.
Jambavati is Jambavan's daughter. He's a gorilla.
Right.
She's beautiful, became the wife of Krishna, so I don't get it.
I know. But you see,
there's Hanuman is a Kim Purush. Kim means, like you're saying, Kinkara. What's about to get like? Kim means like Purusha, like a man. Then there's Kinara, which I don't know what it means, but that's a human body, but a different bird or animal head. Right. That's another class of human beings. So these Naga Patnis, the Nagas, all the Kaliya's wives were all devotees, and they're very beautiful, but they're also snakes.
No. Yeah.
They have
quite amazing.
Like that. Well, in Karnataka,
this is probably will be explained. Also in Durga, one of the songs of Durga is Kalakankani. She's decorated with snakes. So I think in the Shaiva Shastras, the Agama Shastras, or the Lower Shastras, they may explain the behavior and the origin of the Nagas, and Kinnaras. They're in all the temples, they're all there. I think even in Kirodakshai Vishnu, he's surrounded by demigods, and some of these Kinnaras and King Purushas are there.
Wow.
We're all frozen here.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more to be informed about. It's quite fascinating.
Oh yeah, I mean, the whole West only knows one book, the Bible. Then a New Testament and Quran is really based. Muhammad, I just saw a documentary saying Muhammad wanted to start his religion with the Jews, and he went down to Medina where there are a lot of Jews, and the beginning of the Quran is mostly based on the Old Testament Jewish scriptures. Then the Jews didn't accept him, so he went back to another place, Mecca or some other place, and changed it all over. And then he hated the Jews. So, but first he wanted to preach. So he the beginning of and so many things that they cover their head. They do kosher. They do circumcision. All these things are from Moses' book. But that didn't work. So then he became warlord and started his own way. Then he was reborn as the Scientologist, L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard, yeah. Or Joseph Smith. Yeah.
Oh, the Mormons.
The way to make money is to start a religion. That's L. Ron Hubbard's famous quote.
Well, his science fiction was junky. It was horrible. I was a science fiction reader, and I couldn't stand his science fiction.
Look at that. Yeah, he was paid. All those writers were paid a penny a word. And he was sharing an apartment with other writers. We're not going to get rich. So the way to get rich is start a religion. So he made that. And trouble,
you're muted.
just like this Acyutananda, and I think of the Mormons, they become rich. They become big because people want to be cheated. Cheaters and the cheated. Fools and rascals will elect another fool and rascal. They like that. I told you this. Every time these pastors, these mega church pastors, have a scandal, they make more money, more members.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to obey him. He screwed up. So I want him.
Oh boy.
It's perfect.
True. It's so true. What a world.
You know,
Now they're coming to, we saw, and I've met them, and I saw someone, who's your guru? Well, first I was initiated by one of the 11, and then I was initiated by another 11, but he got murdered, and then I got another initiation. He fell down with women, and then he fell down with that. And then finally they come to so that's their zigzag path. Huh?
True.
And somebody said something very simply. It was so nice. He said one should associate with advanced devotees, advanced Vaishnavas, regardless of institution.
Yes.
Oh,
That's it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think she was quoting Narayan Maharaj. Because Narayan
Yeah.
Maharaj tried to help ISKCON, then they made up. That's the whole thing.
I wrote to him in 2005. I was kind of in a really difficult situation, and I was in Ontario, and I got a response, but within 2 weeks of my writing to him, all my difficulties completely switched. I got pulled out of the difficult situation, which I had no idea how that was going to even happen, and I got yanked across the country, and my life completely changed. And yeah, just by one letter.
But he didn't answer.
He answered.
Oh,
He answered, but he wanted me to come and see him, which I tried to do, and I was stopped at the border, and I'm still on a list. I can't come into the States for no really good reason. It was June of 2005. I was supposed to come down with what's his name? He comes down.
Prashasha?
Stavia Dave.
Oh, Stavia, yes.
He was
came
gonna-
here. Why?
One
He
time,
always went down with his camper and his family. He said, "Yeah, I'll take you down, but you got to meet me on the other side of the border." So I stayed at Kala. Do you know Kala? Das.
Oh,
So he was living right by. He's from Vancouver originally, but he was in Mayapur and Mauritius and a few other places. Anyway, he said, "Yeah, stay at my place. I'll drive you across." But it was June of 2005. I was coming down to the Badger gathering, but for some reason, I was one of those, not too long after 9/11. There was like a yellow alert or orange alert or whatever. It was a fairly high alert, and we approached the border, and I swear I saw the guards. They didn't look human. I'd never seen such a thing. I couldn't even identify what I was seeing. And it was so weird. And after that, they held me for 3 hours. They processed me. They asked me, "Where am I going?" So I told them, I'm going to Badger, gathering of devotees. So they were checking it out online to make sure it's all right. But it was too sketchy for them that I was being driven across the border by one person. I was a little naive. I should have somehow, I don't know. I should have had a story so that I didn't have to tell them the truth, which was too sketchy. But I didn't realize what it was going to be like. So they held me. What was that? Sorry.
They have to show that they have stopped 27 people per hour for any reason. They have to show that they were doing a job.
Yeah.
But the way they looked, I could
your-
understand there was
if your
something
name
going
was-
on with the
If
states.
your name was Mustafa Ali, you might have got through.
Probably, yeah. I never had that problem. I mean, I grew up in Toronto, and when we went to the States all the time, it was just like it was nothing. But this time, they completely stopped me and they said, "Well, it's a privilege to come to the United States. It's like you have to have something called ways and means or something like that. You have to have a proof of either you own a place or you rent a place with all the receipts to prove that it's yours or that you rent it. You had to show a letter from an employer that you had employment and you were returning at a certain date. Otherwise, they just could reject you. And they just, it was 3 hours. They wouldn't even let me go to the bathroom for 3 hours. I said, I have to pee. Can I go to the bathroom? No, you got to wait.
My God.
That's torture.
Wow.
They took my picture. They took my fingerprints. This is not a record. This is just for
Yeah.
I'm still on the list because that was 2005. 2 years later.
There's some very informative videos about how to talk to police when they say it's just routine. That's your routine. It's not my routine. These are just routine questions. Where are you going? Where are you coming from?
So I couldn't go down to see Narayan Maharaj. And I never did get to see him. In fact, he asked about, because he remembered me, and he asked Stavia. He says, "Well, where is Dvija Gaurangadas?" So I couldn't make it. So he was, anyway, somehow I got mercy. I mean, it's amazing. Just that letter and everything just changed. Within 2 weeks, I was completely out of the difficulty.
What did it say?
Yeah.
I can't remember. The letter just, he was basically just saying, "Come and see me as soon as you can."
Oh,
And I didn't go into details about what my difficulties were. I just my letter, the title of my letter was "A Cry in the Wilderness." I kind of stealing a title from someone, but the response, I felt so warm, and it was amazing. I actually saw him I've only been in India twice. I was in there in 1993 the first time I saw him. Sorry.
In '66, we were up late with Prabhupada putting questions and he was answering. And we said, "Oh, it's late. You must be tired." He said, "No, I will go all night."
Jai Prabhupada. Boy, I can't. That's
Such energy. Such energy. It's on so many books. If he had only done the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he would have been world renowned forever.
Wow.
But he did Gita, Bhagavatam, Krishna Bodhi. His summary studies are very. I went through some of the Nectar of Devotion because in Lokaguru discovered it in chapter 25, in Nectar of Devotion. It says there are two classes of jivas. Then further down, it does say, and I couldn't find this exactly, but there is another class of gopis called manjaris. That's all he says.
Yeah.
Who serve the elders? Who serve the? That's all he says. So, and then I saw someone maybe in the Guru Purnima speech that Prabhupada gave the hint, but he saw that we could, and look what, we couldn't chant 16 rounds. Many that couldn't stay married, or they got married again and again and again. So I said, they're not fit for the higher things. So give them, then it's a famous ISKCON thing that they say, oh, he wanted to establish Varnashram Dharma. Yeah, because you're not fit to hear about Raganuga Bhakti.
Yeah.
So at least Varnashram will put you, just like I said earlier, the Kali, I said on my speech, I asked Prabhupada, because we arrived in Calcutta 67 at the height of Kali Puja in Calcutta. It's like Christmas, bigger than Christmas every day for a month. So I said, these Kali people are worshiping so many forms, and the Judeo-Christian, they're worshiping one almighty God. Who's better? Prabhupada said the Kali Bhakta is better. Why? That's a demigod. Because the Kali worshipper is in the Vedic system. The Vedic system is so designed that it will bring you up from Tamagun and Rajagun to Sattvagun. And then he said, Shit Prabhavati Dharmatma. Very quickly, they will rise up.
Nice.
Because even he said the Kali Bhakta is more likely to bow down to Krishna than any Christian or Jew. They will never bow down to a graven image. And the Kali, Prabhupada explained, you whisper into the goat's ear that I'm sacrificing you now, and you will be reborn as a human, and you have the right to kill me. So right away, they know transmigration of Atma. All right, they already have this gyan. And then they will probably intelligently say, why should I do that? Why should I sacrifice? In front of on the side of every Kali temple, there's a Radha Krishna deity.
Oh.
Yeah. And they offer vegetarian there. And on the other side, they offer the non-vegetarian. They say that Kali actually takes the vegetarian food and she distributes the non-vegetarian to her sakis, her yoginis.
Wow.
There are so.
But she does drink blood, yes. There's others there are other where it's allowed. Even I saw a lecture by the Shankaracharya of Puri, and he said, really, it's always vegetarian for everyone. The only time that this meat eating is about festivals, about 3 times a year when meat eating is done. But nobody really follows that. If you're in the Shakta, they eat fish and meat every day.
Yeah.
You know what they call fish in Bengal?
I forget.
Ganga Phal.
Ganga Phal.
Oh, the fruit of the Ganga.
I heard that. I said, "Oh my God!"
But I was at the Jalangi. We used to swim across. The Jalangi is like a branch, and across.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful.
Yeah. Isn't it? And then it was what do you think? Maybe about 100 yards in width or something like that. And so we would swim it. And one day I came back, and on the other side it was the Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. You can see the banyan tree and across from it. But in those days, in '76, it seemed to be closed. I don't know. It wasn't really open. Like when we went to, and with another years in 2004 and 3 actually, when we started going in pilgrimage with Narayan Maharaj, and then we entered that house. But I remember swimming back, and then we were at the shore kind of drying out, and then I see a boat with a kid, a fishing boat, but guess what he's singing? The Maha Mantra. And it's a fishing boat.
Yeah.
So I remember, I think, yeah.
Now, Madhav
So-
Maharaj had some gentlemen that would come to his lectures all the time. And I saw him once, and he came by and he stood outside the gate of the temple on the street doing pranam. And in his hand was a bag of fish.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. But he stayed outside. So that's Apiche Sudaracharya. Do you know the extended purport of that verse by Bhaktivinoda Thakur? And okay, this is great. I think I said it once, but I feel like saying it again. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a dream that he was flying in the air, and below was Yamaraj, Narad Muni, and Brahma. And they were arguing over this verse. It says, wait, it says Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma. And then it says Apichet Sudaracharya. Then after that. So wait a minute. They're to be considered saintly. So why does it say they become saintly? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur comes down and says, look, fellas, those who consider them to be saintly, even though they may commit abominable activities, those who consider them still to be saintly, they quickly make progress.
Oh,
They become
yeah.
righteous.
yeah. Don't
Oh,
judge.
because it is strange. See, they should be considered saintly, and very quickly they become dharmatma. What do you mean they become? They're already saints, just like yada yada dharmasya glani bhavati, or
Right.
manusha. What is that? I come to
Millennium after
save
millennium.
what is that avatar verse? Huh?
Ratmaram Surajamyaham.
I come to destroy the
Paratranaya Sadhunam.
He says,
Yeah.
actually, the devotees are always with Krishna, so he doesn't have to save them, but they're dying and dying to see him. So he comes to present himself. They don't need to be saved. They're already, that's the word. They're already saved.
And Siddhanti Maharaj was explaining that the verse where, to those who worship me in love and devotion, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me.
Dami
He said,
Buddhi.
so he said, they already worship him in love and devotion. So what is this can come to me? Me, that means Krishna, that Rajendra Nandana, Nandanandana, Yashodanandan. He's the one from Braja. That's the one we worship. So he'll give us the understanding by which we can go to him. The first time I heard the
Frozen.
You got stuck.
It's happened a few times. He usually comes back on and he's muted. So
Yeah,
it means
but this is a long one.
yeah, it is.
Oh, well.
Hmm.
Let's go. I'm going to drop out now.
Yeah. Thank you for
Very
the information.
well.
Thank you.
Nari Hari, if you can still hear me, send me the email. And
Here he comes.
get out of that stumble.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been talking and the phone was off, and I don't know. My
Okay.
internet is really bad here. But yeah, it's been like really interesting couple of days with the conference, and I wasn't prepared to, because the night before I was helping her with the neck, doing some massage. When her neck went out, I called my friend. He's a Qigong master. And I perceived that when I learned Kung Fu, you remember we used to go watch Kung Fu movies? Don't tell him, it's not recorded.
It's recorded.
No.
But remember to email me.
Okay, I will.
Yeah. And also for yourself, try to find this course under a half hour.
Oh,
He established Narayan Maharaj so nicely. Because it's done like that. He hints in 1966, Prabhupada was, what I heard was always Gopi.
Yeah. Remember in
I'm telling you.
the
But
first
some
film,
people will say, but I can't do that. I'm going to stay in Vaikuntha. I want to be rich.
Jeez. Go for it.
And they don't even know. Even in Vaikuntha, it's Dasya. Dasya Aham. The slogan of Ramanuja. Dasoham. Dasasmi. Not Aham Brahmasmi. Dasosmi.
right?
Dasoham. So there's also, it's not enjoyment. That's heaven. If you think Vaikuntha is heaven, you'll go to heaven. You'll go to Swarga, stay for 1,000 years, and then you come down. And they
That's
have
one of
big
the
enjoyment and they have big destruction also. Oy. They have terrible, terrible calamities also, just as big as their enjoyment.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pralayas.
And the main thing is in that whole atmosphere, you can forget Krishna. You can just forget about Krishna. You can get a chance to come here. Maybe you get a chance to come in. But there are these other varshas. You know, there's only 4 yugas in Bharatvarsha. I didn't know that until they were elaborately, they're still going on, ongoing evaluation of the 5th canto now by Maheshwar, Uttama Sloka, and Sulabha. And there's the only 4 yugas are in Bharatvarsha. All these other varshas are very enjoyable earth planets, earth planes, Harivarsha, Ilabrita Varsha, Kimpurusha Varsha, Harivarsha, that are surrounding the Sumeru.
Sumeru, yes.
Sumeru. All that, but they're not Krishna conscious so much. But they're very nice. They probably have no pollution, everything going on nicely.
Wow.
They had Varnashram Dharma. Varnashram Dharma is all over the universe, except in Jersey. But Oklahoma. But that's Yavanas. Now there's also Kali Yavana. And I always wonder, what are the Yavanas before Muhammad? They're Mohammedans, but they were worshiping multiple gods. There was Baal and all kinds of pagan gods, which Muhammad destroyed. Abraham's father was a builder, a sculptor of demigod statues in the Far East, in this Near East. See? And
they come from a demon. They come from the Yavanas philosophy.
Yeah.
Shanarana explained to us one morning walk. He was in Badger actually, and he explained to us that this the son of a king, a Vedic king, it was very it was like a Venu, you know, he would kill his friends. He was really out there and caused so much trouble to his father. So he wanted a religion that would be totally opposite to his father, totally opposite to the Vaishnava. So Gurudev would say, they shave their head and they grow their beard, whereas we shave our beard and we grow our sika, you know, and they will kill the philosophy or religion that they could kill the cow and like that. So that existed.
No, go ahead.
No, that existed before the Mohammedan. I think it was got incorporated to their religion, but
yeah. So because we have in Krishna the look Kalya. So they were in Bharatvarsha. The Zoroastrian, even the Zoroastrian scripture is carved on bull ox hide.
Oh. Wow.
Hundreds, probably 10, 20 big oxen, and his scripture, the original scripture, is inscribed on that hide. Twak.
Oh.
When was he current, Zoroaster?
I don't know, but the Muslims kicked them out, and they came to India, and their leader came to Maharashtra, and the Maharashtrian king said, "We are all full up. We cannot give you shelter here." And they were drinking milk, and the Zoroastrian Parsi, Persian, he took some sugar and he put it in the king's milk, and he said, "We will blend in with you." I went ahead. The king held up his milk. Oh boy. the king, maybe it's I had x-rays today. Maybe it burned out some brains. The king held up his milk. He said, see, my milk glass is full. So the Parsi put sugar. He said, see, we'll blend it.
Very clever.
Awesome. So,
They're very wealthy. There's only about 100,000 left in Bombay.
wow.
Also, Indira Gandhi was the Farsi.
No, she married a Parsi. They say he's Muslim, but his name was Gandhi, Feroz Gandhi. That's a
Yes.
Muslim, but I don't know if he was Parsi. But I think she just married him to get the name. She's not Gandhi's granddaughter. She's
No,
Nehru's daughter. But she
Right.
gets the name Gandhi. And then her sons get there was Sanjay, Rajiv, and then who's the current one? Starts with an R. Rahul.
Ra-
I
Rahul.
remembered that. Rahul Gandhi. But he's not very he's kind of like Biden's son. He's he does cocaine and it's I'm gonna get kicked off. I'm gonna get everybody kicked off. We're gonna get
It's
we're
not like
gonna
FD that they will send us to
there's two
FD
men
jail.
at my door right now. Dressed
The
in black.
The truth shall keep you free.
The
Don't worry.
YouTube police here.
Yeah.
But there's Modi and there's a great Hindu leader and politician is Subramanya Swami. That's SWAMY. That's his name. He's not a Swami, but that's his title. His name, really, Subramanya Swami, is a very strong upholder of Hinduism, and I think he has a government title in the Modi government. And we'll talk about history of India and how.
So, in talking about titles, and it might not, it's not totally related to what you're saying, but last night, Jadurani was speaking, and Ch.25 asked the question. This Goswami is at Radharaman because the theme was Radharaman. It was absolutely beautiful. I mean, the story of it starts from Srinivas going from trying to reach Lord.
No,
Not again.
he's stuck.
Again.
Wake up.
Unfreeze, please. I was asking him the last time when you went out for a minute about the Sangha that you were talking about, and I'm interested in that too. He's going to send you the information. I think he said he would send it to me too. What's one you're talking about now with Ch.25 or he's talking about?
Yes, Ch.25 is a British devotee who is the host of that Zoomathon. And he just said that Jadurani Shamarani spoke last night. I want to try to find that. I missed.
It's got to be, well, that's not from the conference, but it's from the group where it's called Grace, Leela, and the course is on how to develop greed, Lolyam, or the essential ingredient to enter Raganuga Bhakti is the definition by Raghunath Das. So anyhow, speaking about this.
Well, how can I get on that to hear?
I will send you the email.
Okay.
And it's a group, unfortunately.
Now, what was the conclusion about grape nuts flakes?
So
you must take it with milk for your memory.
The GBC wants to know.
We like them. Yeah, even though they're flakes, we like them.
Not flakes.
But they're not flakes. That's probably why we like them.
They're not nuts. Oh.
No, but I wanted to ask you, and as far as I heard, because you have all these families that call themselves Goswamis families, but they were not direct descendants of Gopal Bhatta. They're all sannyasis. So
yeah, but they kept the faith very, very strongly, very, very high, and kept up the philosophy of Gopal Bhatta, Hari Bhakti Vilas Shastra, and Sanatana Goswami's co-authors of the Hari Bhakti Vilas. And their grandfather was Sarvabhauma, the highest title of a Pandit Vaishnav. He was a supporter of Bhakti Siddhanta, Vishwambar, and others.
Right.
So they maybe they're in family, but there were at least one half of them was very caste conscious. They didn't like Prabhupada giving Diksha, but the other half were our friends. They also have a Mahaprabhu temple in Vrindavan. It's 6 foot tall, and his arms go up or can come down. And Vishwambar told me, Acyutananda, you can go there and do kirtan program anytime you want.
Wow.
His brother, the other one, I don't know his name, never knew his name. He wouldn't have never allowed that. But they were, even though they took the name, they took the word title Goswami as their name, but they were very strong in Siddhanta. All the other ones, and Navadvip and Vrindavan, I spoke to a little girl. I said, "What's your name?" Gita Goswami. Oh,
Wow.
The 9th Goswami, I see. They took it as their name. The story goes that Nityananda had 2 wives, Janavi, is it Janava or Janavi?
It's Janava.
Janava, I gotta remember. Janavi is the Ganges. Anyway, Janavi, Tadavani. So Janava Devi adopted a son named Ramchandra, I think, and he had married and had children, and there's a bloodline from Janava. That's Vipin Bihari Goswami was from that line. There's another one.
Yeah, but they're not.
There's another.
Yeah.
Nityananda had an actual son from Vishuddha wife. His name was Bir Chandra, but he was lifelong brahmacharis.
Exactly.
His disciples were householders, and they were in charge of the temples of the 6 Goswamis. So they started calling themselves Goswamis, and then it just became. And Sridhar Maharaj says in Guru and His Grace, that's a line of bodies. That's a parampara of bodies. See,
Right.
There's a lady.
So, but also,
Barbara Bhavatar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, now she's on their computer, and we get an echo. But it's been.
Who is the